Greetings, adventurers. Today we're excited to introduce you to a new story, Dark Dice, a horror podcast that blurs the line between actual play and audio drama, where the story is determined by the roll of the dice. 6 adventurers embark on a journey into the ruinous domain of the Nameless God. They will never be the same again. One of the players is not what they seem after a doppelganger, a creature that can assume the form and voice of whatever it kills, infiltrates the team. As the players are picked off and replaced one at a time, can they figure out who the monster is before it's too late? Can you? In addition to a full-blown fantasy soundtrack with over 30 live medieval instruments and a 40-person choir, sound effects further enhance the story. Here's a quick example of what that sounds like.
The shambler with the jar of liquid inside of him.
Soren Arkwright let loose an arrow that cracked the glass, passing through the spine of the creature. The shambler still managed to maintain its forward momentum, but stumbled as it eagerly tried to bite and swipe at Soren, landing near his feet. As Rowena struck the shambling creature near Soren, she shattered the canister in its stomach, sending its liquid contents spilling to the ground. With a rush of liquid, the small fetus fell too, twitching and moving toward Rowena.
I'm gonna punt you.
Rowena launched the fetus into the mouth of the mimic with a kick.
So if you dare, gamble your sanity and subscribe to Dark Dice however you listen to podcasts, or on Spotify. Dark Dice can also be streamed at darkdicepod.com.
The last light of the great dark sun lingers in the sky over the Megalenion. As pinks and purples streak across the horizon, these multicolored magical torches cast a sort of fairy light on the magnificent garden of Caesar. Androponus himself floats above the gathered crowd, high above, 100 feet up in the air. He looks down on the 3 would-be politicians gathered on an ancient marbled stage. Kneeling on the stage is Praetor Rysar, Lady Akasha, and the beggar Jonah. Jonah rises to his bare feet and he takes a slow step forward. He strips away his robes down to his undergarments and drops them at the edge of the stage. He folds his arms over his stomach, and dark yellow clouds begin to eat away the sky up above. The wind whips with a sudden gust through the stunned crowd. With a voice that's meek and forceful, all at once, Jonah speaks. I'm Jonah, Most of you, I doubt, know me. Why would you? I'm just a poor man from the maze. I live in a small hut with many who, like me, have no family of their own. In the maze, we only have each other. I have a friend, I won't speak his name, a true master of the will and the way. He's not a rich man, though he could be if he so desired. Instead, he works with the gifted youth of Balic, those with great power in their minds, but no control over that power, those who cannot afford educating themselves at the cerebrum. He does this because he knows what it's like to be poor, to be afraid of your own potential, but to still have so much to give to the world. I have another friend. They bake bread every day, wake up at dawn, and they bake until the sun sets. They sell their first dozen loaves to the market, and the rest of the night, they hand out their food to the poor, those living in the maze who cannot afford food. Their father is so old that he cannot stand up straight, not without a cane. And even then, his back bends and aches with every step. He's a simple tailor who for years has used the scraps from his daily work to create blankets, tents, sand masks for those who have no homes or shelters. In this way, the people of their maze, they use the gifts they have to help each other. Thinking about it now, it makes me swell with pride and with grief, and anger too. I look around at this beautiful party, its food, its entertainment and magic, the amazing clothes you all wear. I look to your perfect palace, Caesar, and I can only think one thing. The praetors and nobles of the city should do better. They should be doing more for the people. Is this gala's extravagance, its self-indulgence, worth more than the thousands of mouths that will go hungry tonight in Balic? So praetors, I ask you now, do you truly believe that you are doing enough to help? Are you, Caesar? As a praetor, I will not back down, no matter who the opposition is. I will lead by example for as long as the people will have me. For these reasons and more, I, Jonah, challenge Calumny for the position of High Praetor of Social Welfare. As to what gift I have to give to the people of this city, allow me to show you. Jonah bows his head. He wrings his hand where he's covering his bare stomach. He closes his eyes and begins to mumble, and everyone there in the crowd can see flickers of lightning crashing in the dark clouds up above. You can hear the rumble of a storm. That gust of wind, that breeze that's sweeping through the area, it gets colder, almost comfortingly so. It lasts for a few seconds, and Jonah begins to sweat profusely. You can see it running down the sides of his face. And then he takes a deep breath, steps back a couple of slow paces in line with Praetor Rysar and Lady Akasha, and he kneels back down on the marbled stage. The voice of Caesar carries downward from where he floats up above. Jonah, Caesar hears you, and he blesses you. And so the sun sets over Balic, and our story for tonight begins. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Dark Sun. So I'm going to go around because I want to introduce all of the characters where they're at right now. And we'll talk about Merula too, what's going on there in a second as well. But first, I'm going to roll a performance check because as we give speeches tonight, anyone who gives a speech has to make a performance check afterwards. So I'll roll for Jonah. It's a 14. So I think with a 14, as we open up on tonight and we go around and see where everyone is, the crowd reacts in sort of conflicting ways. There's some cheers and some noise from the servants in the back, not the crowd that's gathered near the stage where most of the nobles are. But there's some open derision, especially from those of high houses. House Akasha, Lord Lucius seems unpleased, and more loudly, so Lord Kaladin and his mother and father from House Tomblador. And as we begin tonight, let's start with I wanna check in on Merula before we go back to the stage. This is, as this speech is wrapping up, Merula, it's about the same time that, as we left off last episode, your blackbird flying around outside of the gates, exploring what had happened to the two half-giant guards who had gone missing outside of the gates of the garden. And that's when your blackbird saw Gulag, Rysar's friend, one of the half-giants, bleeding, just sort of crawling near the fountain. He falls flat, and it's uncertain if he's alive or dead. And a moment later, we saw the Gaj emerge. The Gaj, a large reptile resembling a beetle with a body that's covered by scaly rust-orange shell. Beneath the shell protrudes 6 jointed legs ending in webbed, clawed feet. Its head is a spongy white globe twice the size of a half-giant's head, marked with these 6 black compound eyes, a pair of barbed tentacles each as long as a longsword, with 3 feathery, these sort of antenna stalks that come up from the top of its head and twitch around in the air. And as we pick up tonight, at the same time this speech is ending, the monster skitters away from the woods towards the closed gate that leads to the crowd unsuspecting beyond, but it doesn't cross the gate. It settles atop the old crumbling fountain outside and slowly hunkers down into its shell. From above, it almost seems to become one with the statue, blending in slightly, so that you could almost think it was part of the scenery if Merula didn't know better. Hi, Merula.
Hi. Some evening. I know what Corey can see. What could I hear?
Roll me a perception check. And tell me, where do you think Merula, where are they standing currently in relation to the crowd and the gate?
They were last right next to their father.
Okay.
That would be a natural bad.
Natural
Get them all
bad.
out now, get them all out.
That's
It's
just a perception check. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
They certainly don't hear anything from outside the gate. There is noise, whispers, mumbles within the crowd. The open jeering of House Tomblador, which is standing with you where you're at as well. And you can hear the cries, the cheers of the servant and the lower class folks who are sort of in the back of the crowd where the food and the drinks are. That kind of, it's kind of overwhelming sound from all around you. You don't hear anything from outside.
And I have no good excuse for how I know this just yet, unless I wanted to reveal. I have no good excuse, is the point here. So I'm going to duck out of the eye line of my father and the representatives of House Tomblador and make my way, as if with some purpose, toward the direction of the fountain and the gate, where Merula might see something.
Perfect. Roll me a stealth check just to see how well you slip away without being noticed.
14.
Cool. So Even Lord Lucius doesn't notice you excuse yourself quietly from the rest of the crowd. And you kind of weave through and get outside, and you're working your way around. As you do so, let's check in quickly with Kronqual. Kronqual, what are you doing? Where are you standing? What do you look like right now?
What? Hold on. Go to this for a second. Okay, sorry, what was that? Having issues with the camera.
No worries. So checking in on Kronqual, where's Kronqual positioned inside the garden right now? What do they look like? What are they doing at the moment?
So I think Kronqual is... what has he been doing? He has been eating and snacking probably this whole time. He's never experienced the cuisine that is Balic. He's been meandering, but I think when these speeches happen, he has been keeping an eye on smiling, I think, with a bit of joy for this new cultural experience that he is experiencing for the first time, because he is the first turtle to have seen this, he believes. So he is like really taking in all of this as he can. He is still keeping his eyes fluttered towards Caesar. Is Caesar still in the like floating around? Wasn't he floating around last time we saw him?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if Kronqual were to look up, you'd see these dark yellow storm clouds and the flickering of the lightning at the end of Jonah's speech. As the wind picks up, you would see Caesar 100 feet up or so in the air, static, not moving, just there in the air, his gray and black robes just billowing, rippling back and forth in the wind.
Yeah, he is mesmerized by this spectacle. I don't think he's ever seen any sort of magic like it. He's only heard stories, but he's always thought that they were just stories. He's seen magic, and he knows of the way, but he's never seen anything like this. I imagine it kind of like a mixture of arcane and psychic energies, and I think that's what he's sort of very curious about, as he's just he's watching, I think, and like smiling, but he's also like his neck is still craned up towards the sky as he's watching. And I think if you were to look out from the stage, you'd see the crowd, and then you'd see his head just poking up, and then there's still the rest of the crowd, just because he's still like maybe, I don't know, like 8 or so inches taller than everybody else, just by his neck alone. So I think that's probably what we see.
Perfect. And going back to the stage now, as Jonah ends up taking a knee in a position between Rysar and Akasha, lowering his head, you can see Rysar and Akasha. He just kind of glances out of the side at each of you. No emotion, particularly in the look. He just looks to each of you and then lowers his head, and you hear Caesar speak again, his voice drifting down to the stage. Who next will rise and speak to the people of Balic their words of challenge?
Me?
The crowd that's been kind of jeering and cheering and mumbling about what just happened, they get quiet as you start to speak, and there's just this sort of like heavy expectation on the air. You can see your grandfather, Lord Atlas, is right down at the edge of like he's at the front of the crowd, and he's wringing his hands together and smiling up at you, and he gives you a little bit of a wink. And you can see behind him, like pushing through the crowd, the floppy hatted Amaran, who you hired to be your hype man for this event, is just kind of like weaving through, and he's tapping people on the shoulder and pointing up at you.
Please let him through.
They will, yeah. They'll let him through, and he gets to the edge of the stage, and he like takes off his hat and waves it at you and puts it back on his head.
Before I begin, I would like to introduce my friend here to say some very nice things about me, but not in a conceited way or a self-serving way that he said that's not thinking about other people. But he's going to say some nice words.
And you can see, because you're facing outward from the stage, and Amaran and Lord Atlas are facing towards you at the front of this crowd, that when you say that, Amaran's face looks stricken. Like, you can see the anxiety just like lock up his eyes and kind of clears his throat. And you can see like he takes a couple of steps forward, like maybe he's going to climb up onto the stage and pull himself up. But then like he turns around and he leans back against it, not climbing up, but right at the edge of the stage, and he clears his throat again and takes off his hat. As he does, you can see he has his old gray stringy hair. It doesn't look like it's been washed in a long time. And even though he's wearing nice clothes, he doesn't look well. With the hat off of his face, you can see the bark-like rot, the disease that he suffers from, that creates patches of skin that turn hard and brown like a tree's trunk. And after a moment, he speaks up and says, "My name's Amaran. I'm just a poor man from the streets. I have a lot of friends, but not a lot of people who have ever gone out of their way to do anything good for me. Lady Akasha took me into her house, even though I suffer from bark rot, even though there's a stigma against people like me. She cared for me and fed me, gave me a job. Lady Akasha knows that the people are the ones who run Balic. We make the food. We hunt. We create magnificent ships that can sail all around the world. We work every day as hard as we can. And even still, there's not enough to go around. Now, these other folks up here on stage, they might be fine folks, I don't know. But I have no reason to lie. I've lost a lot in my life. And Lady Akasha, she's proven herself. Generous, dedicated, and a fantastic singer, too. You saw the music as we came in. So there's that. I'm Amaran. Thank you for listening to me. He puts the hat back on his head and bows his head and slinks back into the crowd.
Yay!
I'll roll a performance check for Amaran. That's an 11. So nobody's giving him a hard time as he re-enters the crowd, but there's a little bit of confusion, and you can see, Akasha, that some of the other noble houses, there's a little bit of derision for this man. Like, how dare he be allowed to speak? This isn't his show.
Thank you, Amaran, and thank you, all of you people making faces, for making sure to make faces to let him know that he is so welcome and we're so not divided. Thank you. Do I talk now?
There's a gust of wind that blows, and you can hear Caesar's voice, perhaps impatient from above. Yes, now would be the time.
Thank you, Caesar. nice to see you. My grandfather helped me with my speech, so thank you all for listening. And he had to tweak some parts, but I'm very excited for you to hear it. I am Akasha of House Sereno, and I would humbly, and if you know me, that's like really, really hard for me to do, but I can admit that because I'm so humble. I would like to become Balic's next praetor. Why me? I can tell you why not me. In the past, I've been spiteful, vindictive, petty, spoiled. Who wrote this part? Grandfather. That's dumb. Why me? Because I've seen how the people have suffered. I've seen people within our own home that have watched me eat with hunger in their eyes. My heart bleeds as I think of how we have so much and how some have so little. The disconnect between the prominent families of Balic has frayed irreparably. At what point do we realize that we need one another? That the situation of the person in the lowest position is that of us all. Until we care for the least of us, we will all suffer. Why does one choose to become a representative of the people? Is it the desire to help? For the influence? For ego? I am here for none of those things. I'm here because I need approval. I need the approval of you specifically. Why? Because I need to know that I am good and can do good. That at my core, with infinite power at my disposal, I can still make the right choice. As you all know, I was raised by my grandfather, Athas Sereno, who wrote those really nice things about me at the beginning of the speech. He raised me and he taught me to be selfless, needs work, to care about others, putting that into practice. But beyond that, I will use this office to make him proud. I will use it to make you proud. Believe in me, people of Balic. Believe in me as I believe in me. Not this me, but the me that I know that I can be with the opportunity to be a better me. Okay, but like me, not like you. Believe in me and the team that we can be. I will watch your back and I trust you to have mine. I could stay in my grandfather's home and live a life of leisure, but I choose to commit myself to improving the lives of the citizens. I will be married to the city and her pursuits if you'll have me, and I hope that you will. Thank you.
You need to say which position you want, Akasha.
Yours.
Second Arena District is.
That's what I said.
And after that, like side to side at the end of your speech, roll me a performance check.
I love it so much.
My page is messed up.
There are two in the audience who are ecstatic. Amaran's waving his hat over his head and poking people around him and pointing up at you. And your grandfather's just like, he's clapping, not loudly, but he's just got this gigantic smile of pride in his eyes as he's looking up at you from the edge of the stage.
I think there's 3.
You can get this prideful 27.
Yeah.
Nice.
You
Second
hear
round fun.
Caesar's voice drift down on the wind, and he says, Lady Akasha, Caesar hears you, and he blesses you. And there's...
Wait. Does that mean I win?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just something I say to everyone. And with that, the crowd begins to cheer. I think there's confusion at the start of the speech, but by the end of it, they're getting really behind it. And you can see like Amaran going through the crowd, and anybody who's not reacting positively, he's shaking them and like trying to like push them and get them into it. And it's pretty successful. It's pretty successful. It definitely made the nobles, it's the sort of speech about like helping the needy that doesn't directly attack the existing noble class, which is exactly what the previous speaker did. So it's a nice change of energy after Jonah's speech. Does Akasha go back down and kneel next to Jonah and Rysar afterwards?
No, she starts to walk off the stage, and then has to like stop and turn back around.
The cross moment happens. I want to check in before we go to Rysar on Merula.
Yes.
Who I think
yes.
by the end of Akasha's speech, Merula, you've been able to break away from the party, the crowd, and go to the gate if you want. What's Merula's approach here?
If I am going to warn anybody of what I've seen, I need to have an explanation for how I possibly could have seen it. So I need to at least be able to have something to point to. Like, bloody, crawling, bleeding people, or that weird lump over there that may or may not be a well-camouflaged gauge. Oh my word.
And even though it's getting darker and there's no torches outside of the garden, the light from the inside, the torches spills out just enough as the sun's dropped down to twilight that you can make out the shape of the gauge now, maybe like 60 feet away through the wooden gate. And you can see its head is pulled into its orange shell, so you don't see its eyes or its head. You just see the shell, which is hunkered down on top, almost like a cover to the fountain beyond. You don't see Gulag with your current point of view. They might be somewhere behind the gauge, or they might have moved off.
Huh. That's probably enough. I want to move with all alacrity up toward the stage, toward Rysar's eye line. Because I can probably catch my father's eye back farther as well, but security.
Yeah. So you beeline, not rejoining the crowd, but kind of on the outside of the crowd, catching yourself in the light of an orange torch that gives you a little bit more visibility, even as you hear Caesar speak. Who next will rise and speak their challenge? And Rysar, you can see, let's say as Caesar says this, you also see Merula off to the side of the crowd in the orange light.
Rysar Ruathamir. And I step forward. First, please accept my thanks, assembled nobles, great Caesar, for allowing me to serve these last 10 years as praetor of the 2nd Arena District, which the good Lady Akasha now seeks to represent in my place. Balicans, nobles, patricians, praetors, humans, half-giants, dwarves, elves, friends. What is Balic? The only democracy in this world? Yes. The center of silt skimmers, ships, and sails of all colors and sizes? Yes. The greatest city in the world? Undoubtedly. But why? Perhaps because we are the center of trade with the most prosperous but also honor-bound merchants in all this great world. So, what is the merchant's code? Recognition that by joining a merchant house, an agent forsakes citizenship in any city or membership in any in any tribe, an oath of allegiance to the merchant house, a promise to perform the best interests of the merchant house in return for a salary, a promise to deal honestly with stranger, friend, and foe alike, a promise not to flaunt any wealth gathered through employment, with the house. I promise to uphold the laws of the city in which this agent is stationed and to do nothing to bring down the wrath of the sorcerer-king or his agents upon the house.
There's a scream that interrupts your speech in this moment. It sounds like it's coming from outside the gate.
I would like to cast a message cantrip to... you're able to do it to people if you are familiar with them and you know their rough locations. So I'm going to try and hit Gulag around the gate. Go, Gulag, are you there?
There's no response.
I look around. What do I see?
You can see Merula in the torchlight. Merula, do you want to describe yourself? What does
Losing
Rysar
their
see?
mind! Waving with disaster face as much as possible, like all but jumping up and down.
I cast a message cantrip to Merula. Merula, I'm quite busy. What's going on?
There is a guard outside the gate.
Is it coming in?
It is sitting on the fountain. Your half-giant was bloodied and crawling off somewhere.
House Rhys of Lamoran Rhys, which welcomed me and so many other elves in this great city for generations past, deserves justice and prosperity. I'll deal with it in a second. House Sereno, Lord Atlas, the new great house of my people in this city, and my close acquaintance and old classmate Akasha's house, deserves justice and prosperity. House Akasha, Lord Lucius, one of the oldest and most loyal supporters of the great Caesar, and that of my new, dare I say, friend, Merula's house, deserves...
There's another scream. There's another scream.
She's waving. How audible are these screams?
It's like just a single short burst from outside the gates. It's just like a single scream, sounds like one person.
You get these now and then, I guess. Do the nobles seem to be paying attention to me or to the screams?
So there's a couple of moments as you're giving this speech where first the scream, like the first time a couple of people look. And then there's the pause as you're sending your message cantrip for just a moment. And then you continue on and they're all paying attention to you. And the second scream, a few more people look and there's a little bit of confusion, but nobody seems to be panicking or leaving at the moment.
Was that another scream or just the sound effects? Okay. Are there any other praetors around?
Yeah, so you have Praetor Zethiri, who's off on one side of the crowd with several lesser praetors watching. And Zethiri is one of the ones who looks towards the sound a couple of times. And one of the other praetors starts to step off and she kind of puts a hand on his shoulder and gives a shake of her head and points back towards you on stage.
I would like to send a message to High Praetor Zethiri. One of my informants has just told me there is a guard on the fountain outside the gate, High Praetor. What would you like me to do? One moment, please.
You hear her answers. There's a little bit of more confusion in the crowd. You hear her answer inside your mind. I'll look into it. Continue with your speech. Keep everyone calm.
Thank you, High Praetor. And apparently there is a bloodied half-giant. Forgive me.
You see, before you begin your speech again, you'd see her grab one of the praetors in the group and wave him, and they start to circle around slowly towards the gate.
House Jarko, the dominant power of my old district and the district that Lady Akasha is seeking to represent. and its head, Taruk, my friend, patron of theatre, of dance, music, poetry, and the gladiatori. I know some in this crowd may not see eye to eye with this house. However, they too deserve justice and prosperity. House Wavir, the new guidance of Roton Ver, who backs the rising tide of the people of Balic and accepts those of all races who want their fair share, knows truly that its people deserve justice and prosperity. And of course, last but most definitely not least, the oldest and most venerable ancient House Tomblador under Lord Caledon, who have the bravery to trade with the fearsome giants of the Silt Seas. Who more than this first pillar, this foundation house of Balic, deserves justice and prosperity? And it is following the examples of this great house that I believe we should look outside this city of Balic. Not that we need to, for it is truly the greatest city in the world, but for our further growth, to gain more strength, and to make more friends. Such as my new friend Kronqual here, of the mighty Tortle people, to my own race and tribe of elves who span the desert, to the giants outside and the half-giants inside. And then I switch to speaking Elvish, and I say, we deserve justice and prosperity. And then I switch to speaking Giant, and I say, we deserve justice and prosperity. Then I say in Common, forgive me, I was saying we all deserve justice and prosperity. This evening we have seen not one but two miracle workers come forward to serve in this most noble position of Praetor and High Praetor, servant of Caesar's justice for the people. And thus I say to the goodly Akasha, of all the people of your great house, never have I known someone so relentless. No one can ever stop you doing anything. Always forward, never back. And thus, I step aside for you, O miracle worker, for I have work of my own to do. Thus far in Balic, I have known prosperity as an elf, trading and bartering, bettering my position in society so that I could have the opportunity to study at the same school as this miracle worker Akasha, though I have also lived and protected those of Jonah's ilk. I used this great privilege of education to become praetor and serve the Caesar's justice for the people not only of the Arena District, but several other dangerous cases, as of late involving any who needed praetor's help. Patrician Nicus. And then I glance at Lord Akasha, but don't say his name. As a praetor and servant of the people, of the city, and of the great merchant houses who have of late suffered due to error upon error, gross negligence of duties, and dare I say corruption and willful misdeed, I say this. Gunther the Giant, you have ignored and betrayed the merchant's code. I call you out as weak and dishonorable. You have betrayed our city of trade, and I challenge you for the great honor of representing our merchants and city as High Praetor of Trade for this, the great city of Balic, the greatest city in the world. I thank you all. I have a matter of security to attend to, and Don, I shall use my portent dice of a natural 20 for the performance roll.
You've been holding on to that one. I love it. Yeah, so go ahead. Let's see here. So go ahead and cross off your portent roll.
Yeah.
And there's like confusion during the speech because of the stopping and starting and the couple of screens. At this point, Zethiri and the other praetor are almost to the gate, and they're sort of looking through, the hands on the hilts of their long blades that are sheathed at their side. And when you finish, especially once you challenge Gunther specifically in such a vibrant way, there is a sort of a bloodthirsty roar from the crowd. It's very similar the sounds that you hear, the criterion at the end of a hard-fought match. That erupts over top of the crowd, so much so that Caesar has to speak 3 times before his voice is heard. And finally you hear coming down on the wind, Rysar Rathomir. Caesar hears you, and he blesses you.
I give a extremely right nose to the dirt bow towards the Caesar, and then leave the stage and sort of do a bit of a no autographs, and head to the gate.
All right, so you start to leave the stage. Let's check in with Merula real quick as you see Rysar leave the stage. What's Merula doing?
Yes. Once I saw the theory and the other Praetor head toward the gate, I'm going to slip back and around and, you're all the 30 feet back, mildly armchair quarterback the situation. Once I'm in that position, I'm going to take a look and see what Corey sees of what's going on.
Corey circling around overhead. Through your blackbird's eyes, you can see Gulag is starting to stir very slowly on the other side of the fountain near the woods. And you also can see these sort of thin trees. They're not as thick as some of the foliage inside the garden. These thinner trees on the outside, you can see their branches rattling further away at first, but coming closer to the edge as though something's coming.
And Rysar's going right now. Is Kronqual
I think Rysar's
following?
probably, I think Rysar's just left the stage, and we can touch base with Akasha and Kronqual as well. Kronqual, what are you doing during the end of these speeches, during the speeches, and immediately afterwards?
I think Kronqual, I think after both of the speeches, he is clapping hysterically at just how awesome both of them were. He's super happy and proud of both of his friends are up there, and both just one right after another. It's great. And he's just almost like he clapped the entire time if they would let him. But he's still so marveled at the this man circling around in the clouds above that he is, like I said, hysterically clapping and very excited. But when he sees Rysar walk off and say he has a matter of security to attend to, I think that's when he starts to snap into a bit of a my friend needs me. I must protect. So he starts to make his way towards and pushes through some people as slow as he can and waddles. Excuse me, pardon me, that's my friend. Excuse me. And he starts to make his way towards Rysar.
So, Lady Akasha.
Rysar.
Yes, might be a little disturbance at the gate, Kronqual. Going to investigate if you want to come.
Oh, I will. Will you be all right?
I'm not too sure. Do you remember that creature? I'm sorry, I do have to go. Do you remember that creature from the Criterion, the terrifying one?
Yes.
Apparently there's one outside. Don't tell anyone.
Okay, all right, I won't tell anyone. And then I think he turns around as you kind of, you walk this way, and I think he just kind of turns around and makes his way towards Akasha. And I think he's going to make his way over there, wherever Akasha is.
Yeah, so...
Sorry, can stage. He may just walk up on stage.
While I'm sort of running, can I do a quick little message and clock that he's going to Akasha and say, you can tell Akasha?
Absolutely.
He nods to the empty space.
So this is the scene as Merula and Kronqual are heading towards the, or Merula and Rysar are heading towards the gate, and Kronqual is heading towards the stage where Akasha is. Once the final speech is done and the crowd is still sort of roaring and there's a rumble of energy, Jonah stands up. He leaves his clothes on the edge of the stage and he exits the stage through a set of side stairs where Rotan Var, the dwarf who's the head of House Wabir, who's supporting Jonah, comes to him with a robe and he puts it on over his shoulders and kind of helps him tie it as Jonah looks a little weak from whatever happened, whatever he did while he was on the stage. Rotan Var helps him down off the stage. You see Lady Akasha, you see Rysar head off in the opposite direction. And what does Lady Akasha do?
Considering Rysar is not faster than me, I am going to run directly at him and catch up to him very quickly and ask him exactly what that was about.
Akasha. I think it's based right by him.
In a minute. In a minute.
Lady Akasha, fantastic speech. Don't you think they went well? I'm just going this way if you want to come.
Wait for me.
We're waiting for Kronqual, though. He has a lot more hit points than me.
Where are you going?
I'm just going to go and check something at the front gate. Do join. Or not, of course. Up to you, Lady Akasha.
If you're bold enough to go, I can go too.
Here we go, then. Very good speech. Very good speech. I especially like the first part.
Very good speech for the both of you. Really well
They were good. Well, thank you, Kronqual. Thank you.
Did you mean the insults part was your favorite?
What? Sorry, just got to get to the gate.
You were consistently the worst person.
I think the crowd rather like me.
Merula, you're not standing right at the gate. You're sort of standing off 30 feet back behind, kind of off to the side, right? Looking through the eyes of your blackbird. Is there anything else you're doing besides looking and waiting as your friends are catching up?
Can I see Van?
You kind of look back over the crowd. You remember Van and Kylantes, the old scion that he was with, were back in the hedge maze. They have not exited the hedge maze that you've seen, but you see Van, the other Van, the thing that looks like Van, working with some of the servants to clean up some empty plates of food and replace them with fresh plates of food, wearing those white, simple servant robes off in the back, toward beyond the stage on the other side of the garden. You can just see like a moment his face catches in the torchlight.
Can I make like an insight or gut check on what the heck is going on with that glassy-eyed thing? Like, if it maybe it's making a move toward a round of a back way sort of thing. Whether or not I get a hinky vibe from the cleanup sort of thing.
Yeah, roll me an insight check.
9.
No strange vibe. The thing that you'll catch in just a moment, because it's a far distance, but there's enough light and your eyesight's good enough that you can catch this, is there's a moment where it's weird. It's almost like Van's doing the same motion again. Like he picks up a plate, puts down another plate, and then a moment later he picks up that plate, he puts down another plate.
He's glitching and weird and scary, and I don't think related to the bloody gosh. So I'm going to run to my friends, past my... Did my father, by chance, bring the ceremonial sword?
Yeah, so Lord Lucius is looking fine tonight in his black toga embroidered with gold. Well, he's still a fine-looking older fellow. And he does have sheathed at his side that ceremonial, ornate metal sword, that rare sword, because metal is not common. Metal weapons are not common in this world. Sheathed at his hip.
So, I want to at least just blow past him on my way to the gate and say, Father, something is very, very wrong. There's something outside. And I'm going to keep going and hope that was enough of a warning. And try to catch up with the other 3.
He gives you a strange look as he kind of just turns his head just slightly. You can't tell if he's annoyed or just confused. But he says, "This is not the time for playing games. Merula, what are you speaking about?"
There's something outside the gate, and I am at least drawing my dagger to signal that this is really serious and a stabby kind of problem, but I really have to run, because there's more than one monster and the world must know, and by the world I mean the other 3, and maybe the Praetors, I don't know. Run.
Okay. Roll me a persuasion check. Is he just sort of like, there's a moment where his eyes go wide. It's an unusual expression for him, for his eyes to go that wide when you actually draw the dagger.
Natural 20.
Yay!
Nice.
So there's a moment where his eyes go wide. He doesn't react, and you run off. If you were to look back over your shoulder, you would see that he's stepping out of the crowd, and he's watching you. He's not storming towards the gate, but he does, maybe instinctively, have a hand on the hilt of that ornate sword of his. And as the other 3 of you are approaching the gate, you see Praetors the Theory and one of the other Praetors there looking through the gate. The Praetor's pointing at something on the other side, and then there's a crack. It sounds like a tree, the trunk of it splitting from somewhere beyond the gate. And you're not right at the gate, but you can see through it. And what you see is Rolf. Rolf is the other half giant guard. He's the one with a little shorter, fiery hair. He is sprinting, running as fast as he can, just broken through the tree line, running directly towards the gate. And he has in his hand that massive granite cudgel, that club that's wrapped in lizard leather for a hilt. And he is swinging it side to side to side as he charges towards the gate. And this is the start of active initiative. This is initiative now.
Dom, do we all see that? Or just Merula?
I think Merula will shortly. And if Merula looks through the eyes of their blackbird, they would see it. But you can all see it. Between you and the gate is just as a Theory and this other Praetor, no one else. And this is the start of active initiative. So the way, just to remind everybody of how this works for our game, we don't roll for initiative. I'm going to give it to one of you. And then when your turn's over, you get to pass it to somebody else. Once everybody's had a turn, we start again. That's the way it works. It looks like Rolf is going to be at the gate any moment. And the Gage is still in the same place outside. That orange shell settled down over top of the fountain beyond the gate. Its head not visible. I'm going to give it to, let's stay with Merula first.
I'm going to dash up and pin myself up between the wall of the gate and one of the hedges that's right there to hide and ready an attack if anything hostile comes through.
Perfect. You can go ahead and roll me a stealth check.
30.
Cool. So you blow past because you're coming at a different angle, Rysar and the others, and you wedge yourself in between the gate and the hedge. You see Zethiri kind of give you a confused look over her shoulder as you step in, and you can feel now the vibrations, the heavy footfalls of the half giant with each strike against the ground coming closer and closer as you ready your blade. Is there anything else on your turn, or do you want to pass it to somebody else?
I will pass the turn to Kronqual.
Kronqual.
Okay, Kronqual. I feel like he's still catching up with everybody, or at least is in tow with them. What is Caesar doing? Does he know?
Caesar, during all of this, if you crane your head up,
Yep.
it's harder to see him now as it's gotten darker and darker, but there's another crackle of lightning. And in that moment, you see, the small figure of Caesar 100 feet in the air, exactly where he was before.
Okay. So they don't know, I guess he's going to, and we haven't seen this yet.
At this point, the three of you can see the shape of the half-giant Rolf storming towards the gate, swinging the club back and forth.
Is he going to be an issue?
I think he says. As he points towards Rolf.
And Kronqual's with Rysar. You're like just a little bit behind Rysar and Akasha.
Can we actually see Rolf, though?
You can just make him out through the gate because it's a wooden gate. So imagine, it's not solid.
Right. Okay.
So we can just see a figure coming in through the slats of a wooden gate. Cool.
Mm.
Oh, do you all see that?
And then I think he just continues. He's going to. I'm going to withhold my action too if anything happens to that gate. Actually, I'm just going to pass. I think. I'll just move with the crowd, and I'll pass it to Rysar.
Are you trying to? So the gate for you is like maybe 50 feet away. You can move. What's your speed? 30 feet or 25 feet?
He's probably not even any of those.
It's probably 25. Yeah, you're a turtle.
Yeah, it's probably less than that.
So you could sprint. Let's say you could sprint to the gate if you want to use your action to sprint to dash. You can get to the gate. Otherwise, you can make it halfway.
Yeah,
okay.
I think he'll be like ooh, and then you just see him like start to pick up his pace only a little bit, but yeah, as he starts to double his move.
Great. And you said you pass it to
Rysar. We're all in one group.
Yeah. Merula's actually ahead of you, but the rest of you are together.
Yeah, let's. The camera's right here. Let's go right to Rysar.
Don, would I I doubt I'd know, but with my arcane knowledge and my knowledge of this party, would I think that is actually Caesar, or would I think it's an illusion he's projecting?
Oh, that's a great question. So let me ask you this. Do you have any kind of spells that might help you discern? Or are you just using like your arcanic hunch? I
have the cantrip minor illusion. However, it is with the way. It is the scion minor illusion, not the arcane one.
Arcane stuff.
But no like detect magic or anything.
I do
like
actually
that.
have detect magic, and I've got it prepared, but I don't really want to waste it.
So you can choose. You can either cast the spell to get more specific knowledge, or you can make me an arcana roll just to get like gut reaction.
One action. See, I wanted to what's
And
the
they would-
range on?
they would
it's
both be in-
30 foot.
They would both be an action.
Yeah, I think I'm sort of feeling that I'm more than 30 foot away from
He's
Caesar.
about 100 feet up in the air. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess detect magic wouldn't really help with that. So I'll use the an Arcana check. Would the Arcana check use up the action? Because what I want to do is send a message to Caesar, but if it's an illusion, he won't get it.
Got you. So I would say, like, you don't have to make a check. If you send the message and it doesn't go through, then I can make you have it do an Arcana check to see why.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. I continue with my movement of 40 to the gate, but I sort of over the shoulder, Mr. President, send a message to Caesar.
What do you say?
I say, I beseech your forgiveness for this breach of etiquette, O Grand One. But we are attacked at the gate. I shall attempt to save these nobles, but I beg of you to make yourself safe.
You send the message out on the wind with your mind, and you feel it connect with Caesar, because it's painful for you to even attempt to touch your mind to his.
I thought it would be.
Yeah. But despite that pain, that sort of sudden headache that I think stops you and you run for a moment, there is an answer that kind of chills you to the bone as Caesar says, I am not worried about myself. Let us see you prove yourself, Praetor.
Yeah, I'll go kill a gash. What else? And I continue my movement to the gate. And I want to try.
So you're about 10 feet away. If you use 40 feet, you still have about 10 feet between you and the gate.
Now, Sam, did Merula say the gauge is on the fountain? I can't remember in the return message.
I believe so, yes.
So I want to, if I can see the fountain, I want to try and clock it and see if I can make it out, or see if I can see anything else. And I don't want to be standing directly in the path of the giant.
Yeah, roll me a perception check, because it's in stealth mode.
14. Did you say perception?
Perception.
That is 18 with modifier.
Okay, you just needed a 16. So it takes you a second, I think, because there's a giant running towards the gate as well, but and the shape is still, it's non-moving. It looks like almost like a stone structure in the dark, but you remember the gauge. You've seen it before in your time at the Criterion, the gladiatorial fights, and you recognize the ridges, the shape of that shell on the outside, and you see it there through the gate.
Okay, cool. Well, I think that's all I can do, unless anything I've got is a bonus action. In fact, you know what? I'm not even going to do anything. Yeah.
Okay. So we go to
Lady
Akasha.
Akasha, yeah.
Where's my grandfather in correlation to all of this? Like, he's still within the...
He's in the crowd right now. It's kind of hard to see through the crowd, but the last time you saw him, he was in the front of the crowd, and you came running off the stage. So as you ran off the stage, you kind of lost sight of him a little bit.
And I can see just the gauge in front of me, just kind of...
Through the gate, which is about 50 feet away, you see a half giant, one of the guards, running towards the gate, swinging his large club made of stone. And when with Rysar pointing out the shape, I think you would be able to tell that the gauge is settled behind him. So the giant has run past the gauge at this point. The gauge is just this shell settled down, its head ducked down into its shell beyond the gate.
I'm going to turn to Rysar. So things are looking very bad, and I don't do stress very well. So bye. And I want to run over and scan the area and find my grandfather as quick as possible.
Yeah, let's say you use your dash action, you're like pushing through people like nobles. Do you call out for him, or are you just trying to quietly find him?
I want to quietly find him.
Okay, so you don't create like a huge ruckus yet. Nobody in the crowd seems to notice what's going on just yet, even though a few of you are over by the gate and starting to move faster. A couple of people are maybe glancing over, but nobody's really sure what you're doing. And then you move back into the crowd, you push your way through, and with your dash action, you find first Amaran, who starts to try to talk to you as you push into the crowd. He says, "My lady, that speech, I loved it. It was so honest. You never see that kind of honesty."
You come too.
You pull him along with you, and then you find your grandfather is like trying to push through the crowd at the front, but he's small and kind of old, and they're not letting him through. They're not making it easy, so he's kind of stuck near the front of the crowd. And when he sees you, he just throws open his arms. He says, "Oh, Akasha, magnificent. I loved it, and all of the little asides that you added."
I love compliments. You know that I love compliments. But now
know.
is not the time for compliments, so I need you and you to come with me. And I would like to take them over to as clear an area as I can find. And
so
I would like
you have a few options just to kind of like paint the picture here for Akasha. There's the hedge maze that you could probably get to on your next turn. There's the stage, which is empty. Of course, there's the crowd in front of the stage. There is an area where the servants are setting up food and drink, where people are kind of wandering back and forth from. There is an area, a separate stage that was set up for players, a troupe of Terry who were doing shadow puppetry. And then there's an area where they were doing games. There's an archery competition. There was like a strongman competition. And that area is kind of empty now as well.
We're going to run towards the empty area that is not the hedge maze.
Okay, that is not the hedge maze. So yeah, that would be the area where there was the competition before, and there's a field with some targets, archery targets, and hay. Then there's, the machine that they were using for the strongman competition. There's no one around there. You're able just to, with your dash action, we'll say you're able to almost get there, but you're pretty much like out of the crowd now. You're able to pull your grandfather out of the crowd. Do you say anything else to him as you're kind of pulling him along and he's just, where are we going?
I just need you to trust me.
Yeah, I do, implicitly.
Really?
Of course. I think you're amazing. Akasha, you should know that.
So I know that I personally know that we are in quite a rush and we have a lot of stuff that's very, very dangerous and could possibly happen in a few minutes. Can we talk about the first couple of minutes of my speech where you decided that I needed to just throw myself on the sword? No, you're petty.
Yeah, I think that's probably as much as you can get out in the 6 seconds in the turn. We'll say like that's like you're having this conversation as you're taking him to the open area. Meanwhile, at the same time, the half giant crashes through the gate, and this is where everyone in the crowd goes quiet and they turn around and there's panic starting to build. smashes through the wooden gate, stumbles for a moment, and the force of the crash causes Zephyri to be thrown back and the other praetor to be knocked to the side for just a moment. Merula, since you had moved off to the side, you see the wood shatter inward right in front of your face, and for a second, the half-giant stumbles after coming through the gate before starting to move again, and you have an opportunity to do what you wanted to do here.
Yes, so if I edge over and look back through the gate, is the guard following them?
Not yet. Doesn't seem to be.
And how far is the second rumble now?
The second rumble?
Yes, you said there was another thing that was farther away and coming closer.
This was, the half-giant was the one who ran through the
good.
woods.
Not two monsters. This is good. Not two monsters. This is bad. There's one monster. One monster's more than enough monster. Not the point. We need Kylantes. Yes, we need Kylantes. So I would like to spend my turn and send Corey over the maze, and if they see Van and Kylantes, to land and call improbably. Just like, why is this bird doing the thing? Because Van at least knows me, and Van would figure it out.
Yeah, and
very clever.
The blackbird doesn't have to fly far into the maze. It's actually, you can see that like Van is standing on Kylante's shoulder, who's stronger than he looks, or maybe he's using psionics to heft him up so that he can peek. And you get the feeling that maybe Van was watching from over the top of the maze, just inside, watching some of the speeches. That's where your blackbird finds them, just a little ways inside the maze.
Absolutely distracting, cawing, picking at Van's bracelet.
He kind of shakes for a second, and then there's a flash of recognition in Van's eyes, and he wobbles on top of Kylantes and tumbles off and hits the ground and pops back up a second later. And he says something to Kylantes, waves at him, and he starts to run towards the entrance to the maze.
Guide bird.
Will be there, and the bird's like flying ahead. Perfect. And Kylantes is following too. It takes him a second. Okay, so that's your held action. Then after the half giant recovers from crashing through the gate, moving through the gate, looks down to the praetor that's been knocked down to the ground beneath of him. And he lifts up that cudgel, and you can see his face peels back with rage. Merula, roll me an insight check. And Rysar, you're really close too. You can do it as well.
Two.
Okay.
8.
Cool. I mean, he just looks, this half-giant guard looks mad. And he raises the cudgel up over his head and strikes downward at the praetor, who's lying on the ground, who's prone.
Promotion.
All right. And then damage. 24 bludgeoning damage. So he brings this cudgel down just as the praetor's starting to stand back up, and it cracks him on the head, and there is just a splat beneath the cudgel. And then he slowly peels the club up off of the body and looks onward, and his eyes fall on you, Rysar, because you are now standing, at least that he can see, closest to him. That's the end of Rolf's turn. I'm going to give it to, let's give it to Rysar first.
Thanks, Don. So, quick question. The telepathic ability of scions to broadcast a message to people within 30 feet. Is that instant? Is that an action? Is it like a free talking action?
Which one is this? Do you want to throw
the
it
first...
up and roll?
Let me
Take a look here.
It's the first level Scion ability, which lets you communicate telepathically. All first level Scions get it. Yeah.
Do you have it on your character sheet?
No.
Cool. Let's say that it doesn't take an action to speak, to communicate.
Cool.
You can say something, but it's like message though. It has to be real short.
Yeah, I'm literally just playing the politics game till the moment I die. I just want to broadcast a message to any sort of nobles and people around me and say, get yourselves to safety. I will try to protect you. And then
all right,
I want to attack the half giant.
Okay. Go ahead and tell me how describe this attack.
You know, when the DMs like uses a tone of voice, which is like, I thought you liked your character. I am unsheathing my elven long blade, which I bought for this occasion because it's both ceremonially beautiful and goes with my USP of what I'm selling in politics, but also the most effective weapon I have. So I want to sort of gracefully, in an elven-like manner, go towards the giant, feint, and then maybe parry the little the club he's got out the way, and then try and strike him. And I'm casting your homebrew spell, Don. Prophetic Strike.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead and throw that up in the Roll20 chat. Cast the spell in the Roll20 chat so we can both look at it together, and then make your dice roll.
Yeah, cool. I only discovered last week that I could actually cast spells. 20. Right, so gonna press a button here. I'm gonna find it.
Should be like the eye or the speech bubble next to it.
Yeah, I was in the core part. Right, here we go. Right. Did that do it?
Yep. And go ahead and make your dice roll. So that's the damage there.
Oh, I can't see it. Don't worry about the damage roll. I got a 2 on the dice.
Now, you spend it's a bonus action, right? Does it give you advantage on your attack? Isn't that the idea?
So it says on the next attack, but
That's right.
Yeah, so it's extra damage on... So if it's a bonus action, does that mean...
You use it before your attack. That's the idea, yeah.
Oh, okay, so I cast it.
Like a hunter's mark or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so in my mind, I'm like... So I still get the advantage next turn, but I don't get the bonus damage this turn.
That's right. Yeah. So imagine like you faint and you see a flash in your mind, Rysar, that you know this attack's not going to hit, but you see the next several steps of the half giant and how you can maximize your advantage on him in the next move. He is going to swing his body back, and you can already see him bringing around that cudgel around his body, and you know that he's going to come down right overhead at you. And whether or not he strikes you, there's going to be a moment after that cudgel is in the ground where he's going to be vulnerable.
He's not going to strike me because I have foreseen this in my dreams, and he gets a natural 1
on his next attack. All right. Well, it's not his turn yet, but that'll be helpful to you for sure.
Yeah, he's attacking really the gauge.
Cool. Who do you want to pass your turn off to?
Merula, did you have your turn?
Not
I
yet.
haven't yet. No.
Merula, hit it.
What do I see from where I am right now?
So as the sort of dust rises from the broken gate, you see the giant continue to press forward, smash the Praetor into the ground. You see Rysar. You can see him running forward towards this half giant. And half giants are tall. This is he's probably 9.5 feet tall. He's a large guy. And Rysar feints with his long blade, his elvish sword, does not hit, and then pulls back. And you can see now the half giant starting to swing his club around like he's going to strike again.
All right, then I'm going to run up from behind where no one has really spotted me just yet and do a flyby into the Achilles and disengage back out.
I love it. I love it. Go ahead, and you have advantage on this too.
I want to not be there very soon. Lovely, that is 23 to hit.
That'll be a hit.
Oh, good.
Hold on.
I was worried.
We may be losing internet.
Oh no.
Give me 1 sec.
15 damage.
Okay. Let us know when we're good, Cord.
I think we're good. I think it just
Cool.
Yeah, all right, we're good. Sorry.
Yeah, and
Neutral
I
good,
love it. So
I think on my best days, yes.
15 damage with the sneak attack. You run past and you cut into the Achilles tendon with the planted foot that he has kind of behind his body, and then keep moving. You're able to disengage. Are you moving towards the gate or away from the gate?
I think I'm going from hedge to tendon to opposite hedge.
Perfect.
I am the
I love
hedge
it.
lord.
You were the hedge. And you can see like it cuts through, and there's a bit of a Who would you like to pass your turn off to?
Akasha.
Akasha.
Yeah, good.
Akasha, roll me a perception check at the start of your turn.
The stream died for a hot second. Could you just give me the narrative of what happened in that turn?
Yeah,
sorry
so
about that. Just so we're all good, because the internet died for a second.
Merula, hiding in the hedge, runs out of the hedge. They ran behind the half giant, sliced into his Achilles heel in the back of his leg, and there was a rumble in the back of his breath. He stumbled a little bit, and then Merula ran into the hedge on the opposite side of the broken gate, where they hit again. And then we move to Akasha. So I need a perception check from Akasha. Start of her turn.
Thank you.
A 14.
As you're getting close with your grandfather to this open area, this sort of abandoned area, it's not too far away from where the servants were doling out food and drink. Now there's panic in the crowd and people are starting to push around. There's a little bit of chaos. Thankfully, you escaped the chaos moments before the gate bashed in. But Akasha, you recognize, or you notice that several of the servants are drawing ceramic masks, drama and tragedy and comedy masks out from hidden spots of their robes, and they're starting to put them over their faces.
Maybe we should go in another direction.
Why?
The more time you spend asking me why, the less time we are moving.
Okay, I'll try to keep up. Where are we going?
Grandfather, first of all, you're also an F. I know you're faster than this. Now is not the time to play poor old me, old man.
All right. Well, let's just get where we're going.
Okay. So I want to go back towards my friends and try to get them all in one place as much as I can, as close to me as possible. Everyone except for Kronqual, who's a little too large.
So here's the sort of bargain I can give you. You can get 1/3 the way all the way across with a movement if you want to hold your action to like defend if somebody tries to attack you, or you can use a dash to get 2/3 the way there. So next turn you will be with your friends.
Dash.
All right. And for all of his complaining, once you start running, your grandfather can keep up. And it's this elvish thing where like you start running and you pick up speed. You don't slow down. You're moving faster and faster. It's actually Amaran who's struggling to keep up. he's running and like his hat falls off his head and he scoops it down off the ground and he's chucking along trying to catch up to you.
I'm gonna throw him on my back.
You piggyback Amaran. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, sure. He's a small guy. So you piggyback and it slows you down just for a little bit, but you'll still get there on your next turn. Is there anything you say or do otherwise? You still have a bonus action as well if there's anything you want to do with a bonus action.
I would like to save it, please, and not do
Absolutely.
the thing. I would like to carry on in a very defined direction towards the people that I know, except for Kronqual, who is too large in this very small scenario. Thank you.
All right. So that passes it to Kronqual then. Kronqual, it's your turn. You're just a little bit behind Rysar. He moves in front of you and attacks this half giant. What do you do?
I think Kronqual is gonna try to push Rysar out of the way and strike the giant with his staff, because he's still moving at a relatively slow speed, 25 feet per 6 seconds, and I think he's going to, with just the weight of him, bowl into Rysar with his staff out, ready to strike the giant.
Go for it.
And he will do that twice because
You are level 5.
have extra attack. Yep, that's right. Let me see what all of my dice are now, which haven't changed. Cool, great. I rolled the wrong dice. Okay, great. That is a 3 for my first attack.
Okay.
And when I say 3, I mean a 9.
Yeah. A 9. That's still a miss. Just
Okay.
a miss.
And then my second is going to be a 28.
That'll be a hit.
I lied.
So go ahead and describe your 2 attacks
25.
and roll your damage.
Okay, great. I think he's going to, he comes in there and he bowls Rysar out of the way with his, and then he swipes, I think, maybe at the face of this giant. The giant's reeling back for a strike, right? So I think it just whiffs right by his nose. And then I think in maybe a flourish, he goes after like the shin or maybe even the weakened Achilles leg for 8. Or no, that's a 3. For 6 bludgeoning.
Okay.
And then as he's down there, he's actually going to take a chunk out of this thing's leg as well, because he, as a bonus action, can snap his turtle jaws. So with a 17, 23.
That is a hit.
Okay, plus for 8.
Awesome. So you strike the giant in the back of his wounded leg and bowls him forward just enough that you can snap your turtle jaws right into his, let's say, like his
thigh or something.
Thigh, yeah. And for a second, like you're clamped on. Is that the end of your turn?
That will be the end of my turn. Yep.
All right. It is the giant's turn.
It may be his turn will be just latched on. I mean, it won't get a grapple or anything, but just narrative. I'm latched on.
Latched on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his first attack still comes in at Rysar, especially with you on his leg. And Rysar, you describe how you foresaw this moment and exactly what happens, because this is one of your divinity wizard things. It's so cool.
That's so cool.
I even saw Kronqual coming in and pushing me out the way. I'm like, I don't even need to move. I just let Kronqual push me here. The club's gonna hit there. It's so Matrix. But then I sort of like, I think as I sort of dart out of the way of the incoming club, I just sort of notice on the floor the other praetor who's basically had his head caved in. And I go, I haven't seen anything beyond this.
Oh no.
And then I sort of have a little bit of a shiver go down my spine.
You can see Zathiri crawling around a little bit through the rubble of the gate as well. And the first blow, the cudgel strikes into the ground where you were before, resounding, splitting the earth a little bit, and then he lifts it up again and he swings it from left to right, from side to side, trying to knock Kronqual off of his leg. It's going to be a 21.
That'll hit me.
Okay. .22 bludgeoning damage, and make me a strength saving throw.
That is going to be a 6 on the strength. And 22, you said?
22, and you're knocked 5 feet away and prone. So the blow actually, like I think if you're clamped on, it knocks you off of his leg, and you go maybe into the hedges.
Can I,
to his right,
midair, just for narrative, go into my shell and then roll into the hedges?
Yeah, I love it. You like side to side roll?
Yeah.
You're flipping side to side?
Yeah.
I love it.
Like end over end, just into the hedges.
The giant takes another step forward, but doesn't advance any further. Its gaze turns back to Rysar. Then afterward, the masked individuals, the servants, white robe, not all of the servants, but maybe like a third of them have put on these masks, and they all draw these obsidian daggers, and they begin to push away from the other servants. Anyone who's looking at this chaos, you would see Lord Lucius step out from the crowd, moving like a hand raised, like he's worried about Merula, like starting to pick up his pace a little bit to run towards the gate. He draws his ornate sword that has this gemmed hilt, this golden hilt inlaid with gems, and then this dark iron blade, and he begins to run towards the group of you there. But at the same time, a group of these servants in the comedy and tragedy mask break away and start running towards him, and a group break away and start running towards Lady Akasha and Lord Atlas as well, looking to basically interrupt them before they can reach the rest of you. They don't quite get to you this turn, but they are now into the fray. We're back to the start of the round. Let's give it to Akasha. And
I would like to give it to Akasha. Thank you.
Yeah, let's give it to Akasha. You can see these servants, these masked servants, starting to run towards you. A group of them, 4 of them, towards you and your father who's with you, or your grandfather who's with you, with these obsidian daggers in hand.
I don't really like people waving things at me. I think it's extremely rude. And I don't know if you can see that there's a lot of stuff going on around it. How many people are there? You said how many?
There's a group of 4. A group of 4 of them right now is running towards you.
Okay. Pull my grandfather closer towards me, and I still have. What's your name again?
Amrad.
I know that. Like, I know it instinctively, but it's just the remembering it part. Okay. No. And I point at the 4 of them, and I clap my hands and cast Thunder Wave. So I'm gonna need a Constitution saving throw.
Constitution saving throws. Awesome. Let me pull up these guys again. So, okay. So, an 8, a 17, an 11, and a 5.
It is a.
This is awesome.
It just says Constitution. Oh, are you talking about your music?
No, just this whole scene is awesome.
Oh, I
yes,
was really
my
confused.
music's great. Yeah, that's true. But no, this whole scene's really cool.
I was trying to see what the con save was. I was having a moment. Sorry.
Your spell save.
Yeah.
It is.
I haven't had to do magic in so long.
$14 is your current spell save. So I think only one of them makes the saving throw.
Okay, so that's 3. So 4 points of damage.
And they're knocked prone. Okay. So just describe what this looks like, or is it just a sound? How does this happen?
You can kind of see it in the dirt situation. You just see the waves of it. That was supposed to be a louder clap, but it didn't come out the way that I anticipated it. Yeah, it sounds like that. But then you start seeing, and my grandfather's there like, oh, and he looks confused, but it just starts like rising up, and then you see the dust, boom, right into them.
Perfect.
And knocks them
it.
back onto their backs, and they're all like, ugh.
Yeah, I think like your grandfather is holding his ears as the thing goes out, and 3 of them go flying back into the ground, rolling over in the dirt, starting to move a little bit. They don't look defeated, but they're knocked down. The other one like plants his feet, bends his knees, and withstands most of the blow, and then keeps running. Are you continuing to move towards the rest of the group?
I am. I'm trying to get to them in a timely and effective manner. Everyone except Kronqual, who is too large for this interaction.
He's now in a hedge, like in the, all good.
It's okay. I wasn't coming to you anyway.
Yeah, it works. It makes so much sense.
Yeah, we'll say like this at least slows them down enough that you're able to get to like where Kronqual is, almost like you're maybe 10, 15 feet away from the giant, in the same general vicinity as the rest of your friends. Your grandfather's maybe like 5 or 10 feet behind you, and I think Amaran at some point like he falls off your back and stands up, and he's almost caught up. He's just a little further behind.
But I am by Kronqual.
Yeah, you're like maybe 10, 15 feet away.
Is he standing up, or is he like been knocked down?
He's been knocked prone into the bushes, into the hedges of the hedge
in his shell.
Okay, I want to get distracted by that and go like at least like rock him onto his feet and use my grandfather and Amaran to help me rock Kronqual back to his feet.
He's on the back of his shell, and you're just like, oh wait, hold on. Just dink.
Do you want to pass your turn to Kronqual then?
No. I want to pass it to Merula.
Cool.
Then we can come back for that great interaction.
Merula.
Yes. So I see my father about to get mobbed, and he's worried about me. Well, I'm worried about him right back. So I want to run up and intercept at least one of the ones that is coming at him. As that's happening, Corey has been guide bird, so I imagine that the directions we're both going would allow for some flyby.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you would probably, as you're running, see Van pop out of like the entrance to the hedge maze and like look out around at everything that's going on.
I'm sure he feels exactly like Troy with a pizza right now, but I don't have the time. So, as Corey flies to me, I run to one of these masked figures with the obsidian blades who's coming at my father, and I would like to give such a person a profoundly sad day.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I think your father, Lord Lucius, he doesn't see these 3 masked figures running behind him because he's looking forward towards you. But you're able to cut one of them off. It's like broken away from the others and is almost on top of him.
That one. So
Go for it.
Corey is helping me, and
Yep.
I am ecstatic. All 16's 24 to hit.
That'll be a hit.
Oh, good. damage to this person.
So with Corey helping you, which you can describe as well, that's enough to defeat them. So you can describe exactly what happens here.
Corey and I are coming at opposite directions, and Corey just grabs a bit of hair and yoinks, and it throws them just a bit off the center and exposes the rib, which I open to the air. And Corey flies by, disengaging, and I roll around, pull the blade out, and come up by my father, disengaging if need be.
You see your father spin around, catching you in this moment as you do this, blade in hand, which he lowers a little bit. And despite the confusion in his face, there's just a moment where he looks at you and he says, Merula, how did you do that?
Well enough to keep you alive, father.
Huh. And I imagine like the masked figure drops down to the ground in front of you and falls down, and there's just a moment where a snake-like tongue flickers out of its mouth and then goes limp outside.
Yes. So if... Yeah.
What would you like to do?
Then if our snake-tongued unfriend has fallen, I don't have to worry about disengaging from aforementioned friend, and I don't think I have anywhere to hide right nearby my father. My impression is he's kind of in the open.
You're out in the open right now, yeah.
Then I'll use my cunning action for dodge.
Okay, perfect.
That will end my turn, and I will pass it on.
All right.
Back to the aforementioned interaction, Kronqual.
Kronqual, you get rocked back up to your feet. Lady Akasha's there. What happens next?
I think. So yeah, he gets rocked over to his belly side, and then like his limbs come out, and I think he's surprised at seeing you, Akasha. He goes,
Thank you.
and you see him blink for a moment, but his eyelids blink vertically as he tries to come to his senses a bit, and then he
What happened? Did I do that?
as he looks at this fallen giant.
The giant's still up too, like it stumbles, but it's already rising back up to its full feet again.
Okay, I think he goes,
We should go.
and he starts to like push everybody towards the combat, like we should go fight.
It's your turn. So whatever you want Kronqual to do, you have your full range of actions right now.
Yeah, the rest of his turn is based off of what's happening in this interaction. Like if people are moving, then he will move. But if not, he may... Actually, no. I think what's going to happen is he gets up and he tries to gain his bearings again. And as he does, he kind of like looks confused at the situation, and then he starts to back up and then back towards the crowd.
Okay.
Back at the garden.
Does he defend himself or defend Akasha if Akasha tries to stay with him? You can hold an action for something if you like.
I'll hold the action.
Okay. Rysar, it's your turn.
Yeah. I'm looking at this Elven Longblade, and I think really it was only particularly useful if it had prophetic strike. I thought it was a finesse weapon, but it's strength, and I'm not a strong person. Okay.
Oh, no. Elven Longblade is finesse. It should be. If it's not marked that way, it should be.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just because I've got advantage on it from the spell, I may as well use it, even if it's not fantastically effective use. What I want to do is try and hit this. Oh no, that's the long bow. What I want to do is try and hit this giant in the weak spot where it's already been ankle slashed a bit. So I'm working on the Achilles. I have advantage, so I'm gonna hopefully hit it. That's a 8 on the first dice. Let's see. Oh, 16 on the second dice.
Yeah, that'll be enough to hit.
Yeah, +2, I think. So I think it's just a D6, and if it's finesse +2, 6. So that's 8 damage.
8 damage
on his ankle.
All right. And he's starting to stumble forward just to paint this. You have like Kronqual and maybe Akasha is going to follow. Lord Atlas is there too. Kronqual's starting to back up towards the crowd, staff in hand. Zathiri's starting to stand up in the rubble. Merula's run off towards their father, Lord Lucius. They're being engaged by these masked figures, and you can see masked figures now moving into the crowd, attacking people. People are starting to break up and scramble in all directions. There's several masked figures fighting with Taruk and Untak, who are over near where the servants are. They seem to almost be defending the servants from these masked figures. And there's a few more that are starting to stand up and chase towards your group as well. It's starting to turn into complete chaos. People are yelling, screaming. Nobles are pushing their servants in front of them, sort of like body shields. And this half giant is starting to move forward again. You strike him for 8 damage, and he stumbles just a step, but he's not stopped yet. He's slowed, but he's not stopped.
I think actually,
the rest of your turn.
I think this is the first time I've actually, because I'm circling around to have a go at the ankle. I think this is the first time I've actually seen all the masked figures, and I'm just like, really, Gulag? At the pathetic lack of security.
Just a note, I think Kronqual's staff has left where he was knocked. I think he doesn't bring the staff with him. He's staffless right now.
If the giant is kind of going forwards, but do I think I'd be able to get out of the way without him attacking me?
He could take an opportunity attack against you.
I'll just stay where I am then. Okay. Actually, you know what? No, I won't. I'm going to try and go towards the crowd, and particularly where the rest of the players are. So come at me, bro.
Name who you want to move towards. It could be one of the NPCs, one of the groups. It could be Merula, one of the PCs.
I would like to go over to Taruk.
Taruk, yeah. So Taruk and Untak. Taruk is the large Terry, the rat folk who used to be a champion gladiator. He now runs the gladiator house, House Jarko. Untak is like his bodyguard. It was like his gladiator partner, now his right hand.
How far away is Lex Merula and Lord Akasha from
I would say you would have to pass by them to get to the servants, to where Taruk and Untak is.
So I think I'll make a little pit stop with Lord Akasha and Lex Merula.
The half giant will swat at you with his cudgel as you run off.
Yeah.
18.
I'm going to have to use a shield spell then, because my armor class is less than 18. So I will use a shield. And it'll be like...
armor class.
Say again?
To bump up your armor class.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it'll be like Caesar's blessing, and I sort of pick up some sand and sort of throw it behind me, and it turns into a sort of magical shield and deflects the blow, and then I
love that. There's like a reverberation in the air as the sand sort of holds there for a second, and the cudgel strikes the sand and bounces off of it, and you are able to run off and join Merula and Lord Lucius. You'll get there at the end of your turn.
Cool. Okay, thank you. I think
Anything
I was the
else?
last person, wasn't I?
You were, yeah. The half giant continues to stomp forward. Let me ask you, Akasha, are you sticking with Kronqual as he backs up towards the crowd, or are you sticking to the hedges? You don't have to say like where you're moving next turn, but like if you're leaning in one direction or the other, which way are you leaning?
Away from the hedge.
Okay. The half giant, as it's stomping past you towards Kronqual, it takes a swing directly at you.
Use you.
Be a 21.
How close is he?
He's like 10 feet away. He has like a 10-foot reach.
Okay. I would like to take out my longbow
Mm-hmm.
and aim directly for his eye.
Okay. So, does the attack hit you? Does 21 hit you? Do you have anything like shield or anything you can do?
Oh, it
I don't think
definitely
there's-
hits me. I have an
definitely
AC
hits.
of 11.
Okay. So it's gonna be 21 damage.
Shut up.
I think you have more hit points than that.
I have 3 left.
Oh no. Make me a strength saving throw. And this is like an offhanded swing as he's running past you, and you can see like
Just an
Amaran
offhanded
like
swing.
tries to reach you and get to you before this swing happens, before the giant's stone club strikes you. Probably
Said
like
strength.
strength saving throw.
Should like go to something I have? It's so rude. So rude. It's a 17.
That's enough to stay on your feet. Like, I think maybe it knocks you back into the hedge, but you're still able to stay on your feet and draw that longbow and prepare it. The rest of it's, so you'll be able to use that. You'll be able to attack it on your next turn. I'll go to you at the end of this round. The giant continues to stomp forward, and it raises its cudgel over its head and tries to crack you down, Kronqual, over yours. That'll be 27.
Oh wait, hold on. Oh, yeah, whatever. I missed my reaction. Okay, I will.
You can use your reaction if it's something that you can interrupt this attack with.
I can't interrupt the attack. It would have happened on Akasha's turn.
Gotcha.
Poop. Okay, so I will. You 27 to hit me? Yeah, that hits me.
18 on the die.
Okay. Stop rolling so well. Thank you.
So 17 bludgeon damage, and you can make me a strength saving throw.
Not so bad. As last time, strength saving throw is going to be a 19, Don.
Yeah, and so he strikes you on your shell, like you can feel the shell crack, but you're not knocked down or knocked unconscious. The fight continues as the masked figures go through the crowd. You can see people are going down. People are being stabbed. They're going for, it looks like largely they're attacking patricians, pushing and cutting through servants who are in their way. Taruk and Ntak. Yes.
I am using my psionic shield, whatever it's called. Which I was supposed to use last one. It's the psionic armament.
To reduce the damage.
Reduce the damage by 10. I just rolled a 10 on the dice. So,
Ooh, nice.
So yeah, I'm actually not so bad.
Yeah, so maybe like your shell doesn't actually crack because it strikes your psionic barrier that you're able to put up just
for a
in
moment.
time.
Yeah, his eyes wash over white, as much like before with the sand behind the back, and it reverberates or bounces off of the sand. But this time he's walking, and his eyes wash over white, a halo zips around his head, and that flips back into a giant disc and takes the blow as it then shatters into, I guess, just into the mist as he continues running.
Elsewhere, Taruk and Untak, the Terry and the Mantoid, the Thrycreen, are easily handling a group of about 6 of these masked figures, fighting like back-to-back, weapons in hand. As a matter of fact, I think Taruk, the Terry, the Ratfolk, has like a drink in one hand and the scimitar in the other. He's like fighting, slashing back and forth, like taking a drink and then slashing some more. The 2 masked figures close to Merula and Lucius, they rush towards Merula, who's placed himself in front of their father. But Merula you took the dodge action, right? Okay. So one of them is going to attack you with a dagger. Disadvantage. Oh, that is with disadvantage. It went from a 19 to a natural 1. So that's nice. And I think describe what this what this dodge looks like.
Yes. So they come in toward me with a dagger, but this, it turns out, is the weapon that I trained with the most. So I grab the wrist and knock my elbow into the side of their head and shove them away.
They go face, like mask first, into the grass next to you as you push them away. A moment later, the other one slides to a stop and they pull off their mask. And as they do, you see not Van, the thing that's not Van but looks like Van. You see their glassy eyes, a snake-like tongue forked, whips out of their mouth and flickers. And a moment later, their jaw unhinges and they spray this green, sort of acidic liquid directly at you. Make me a Constitution saving throw.
The heck? Dislike. How's 14 do?
You needed a 14 for half damage, so you only take half of this.
Which you roll
so 16,
very miserably on.
It would have been 16. Now it's 8 poison damage is what you'll take.
Not so bad. Not as
You're able
bad.
to withstand the worst of it. Maybe keep some of it out, like out of your eyes, out of your mouth.
Yes, keep the. I do that.
Rysar, or let's see, Akasha, I think, because Akasha is now closest to the gate. As you're leveling your longbow at this giant and its eyes, it's continuing to charge forward, getting ever closer to the crowd. Akasha, roll me a perception check. I love that look. That's a great reaction.
Well done. That look says that I rolled a 5.
Okay.
That's with a bonus.
So you're locked into the guard, the half giant, and I'm going to give you the start of this turn as we move to the next round. You can do whatever you'd like here.
So
I don't think I had a turn done.
Oh, you did, right? You attacked with your sword and then ran towards Merula.
Wasn't that the end of...
That was last round. Then I had the NPCs just went, and now we're at the start of the next turn.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, so I've already aimed my bow. Like I rolled a perception, but I need to roll.
That was for something else, unrelated. You have your bow. You're able to aim it at the giant.
No one cares about your tricksters that you've got going on within encounters. Shoot. Hold on. Let me roll this thing. Seductive roll, level up slow-mo. That was a natural 1.
Oh, nice.
No.
Perfect. Seductive roll.
Oh, goodness.
Seduction roll failed.
So you fire the longbow, you fire your bow, and it like whizzes right by Amarin's ear, his hat, as he's getting close to you, and he stops and looks over his shoulder. It sails off and beyond the half giant and comes down maybe somewhere in the crowd. You can't tell if you hit somebody, but it definitely looked like you might have hit somebody. Crowd.
I hope this won't affect your vote.
The crowd.
What about the rest of your turn? You saw movement and bonus action to do anything else you'd like to do.
I would once again like to grab my friends and say, "Oxen, stage left," but we're really going right.
Are you going towards the crowd, towards your friends, towards the gate that's shattered open?
We're going towards, trying to get as close to Rysar and Merula as possible.
And I think like your grandfather, Lord Atlas, who you've been pulling all around, is just like caught up to you, and now you're running him back in the other direction. And he says, Akasha, what's going on? Who are these people?
I don't know particularly how to answer that. So stop asking questions and just come with me. And if anything else, it's exercise.
I suppose. He continues to run to keep up with you. Yeah, you're able to, at the end of your turn, you'll be like reaching where Merula and Rysar are towards the center in this open area. You get to choose who you pass your turn off to next.
I will pass my turn off to the lesser praetor of the scenario, Praetor Rysar himself.
The only praetor of the scenario at the moment. Thank you very much.
For now.
Akasha.
For now.
Good. So I catch up to Merula and Lord Akasha. Don?
Mm-hmm. Lord Lucius, Akasha.
So I want to suggest, are they engaged in combat with anyone present?
Yeah, Merula has two of these masked
Van
figures.
McAcid spit.
That's right.
Okay, can I want to say to Lord, is it Akasha or Akasha? What's the pronunciation?
There are multiple ways to pronounce
Okay.
Latin because, it's not really alive anymore. So you can opt for, I've been doing Akasha just because it's Italianate Latin, where a C followed by a soft vowel gets a ch, but Akasha is a fairly common anglicization as well.
Akasha.
Or, yeah, let's go.
Cool.
Germanic Latin today.
Yeah, I will tell Lord Akasha to. In fact, I just say to the both of you, let's get to Taruk. They're seasoned fighters, and let's win this. Also, talking is a free action, and you can do it not on your turn.
Yes, I think all that's really needed there is a nod. I admit, I'm slightly more focused on fake Van McAcid face.
Do I notice it's fake Van or?
It's pretty evident now that you're this close. You whipped off the mask, forked tongue came out, whipped back in, and then he spit acid at Merula.
Normal Van stuff.
Sure. Okay, yeah, I want to. I think, can I firebolt? Or no, you get disadvantage in close range, don't you? So I'm just going to use my elven long blade and stab it, if that's cool.
You don't have to be within 5 feet of. You can firebolt.
Can I, so it's in my mind, where is Lord Akasha in comparison to the two assailants?
Right. So I imagine Merula right in front of Lord Akasha, who's drawn his blade, and he's going to act too. Like he's ready to throw himself at these assassins.
Could I
And maybe
get
you're
a
like
visual
off to
of
the side.
the whole battlefield, like where the garden is compared to where the giant is, compared to where
So
the
imagine
gate
on
is
the
and
west
where
side,
everything
yeah.
is.
So imagine on the west side is where the servants were, where the drinks were, and whatnot. The far east side of the garden is the broken gate that the half giant ran through. On the south side is the stage area where most of the crowd is breaking up and running away from. And you are all somewhere on the north side between east and west in this open space.
Okay, thank you. And where's Taruk?
Taruk is with the servants on the west side.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I say we need to fight our way to Taruk. Lex Merula, Lord Akasha. And then I guess I firebolt. I really want to get the van one because I hate that guy.
Sure. Go for it.
So I think that's 14 with the Dex mod. Yeah, 14.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that'll be hit.
Great.
With your intelligence modifier.
6. Oh, did I
You're
say
level
firebolt
5,
or
right?
stab? Oh yeah, I'll totally firebolt.
Firebolt.
Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, I just rolled a d6 for damage. So is that a d10?
Yeah, actually, I believe it's 2d10 for you now.
Oh yes, I saw that somewhere. And do you add your intelligence mod to the damage or not?
Not to the damage, no, just to the
Okay.
attack.
I'm thinking of Eldritch Blast for warlocks with the thingy. 7. It's all right.
Okay.
In your face. Not fan.
Eldritch Blast, how original.
Hold on, wait, I got this.
Very nice.
As you were.
Yeah, I think Dan sneers at Merula and then whips his head away as a blast of fire strikes him in the face. When he turns back around, some of his face, some of the skin on the outside has melted away and you can see scales beneath.
Rysar definitely smiles with a bit of satisfaction at that.
Are you running past them? Are you going to try to run past them?
No, I will then be very obviously trying to shield Lord Akasha. I know Merula can look after themselves, so I'm trying to sort of protect Lord Akasha because I just think lords can't really protect themselves.
That's fair. Okay, cool.
This is the
Who do you want to
squishy,
pass?
skinny boy to the big, muscly human.
That's
to your
right.
chest. No.
That's right.
Is Lord Akasha big and muscly?
Yeah.
He doesn't. He looks like he used to be pretty muscly, you know. Used to be.
I mean,
now he's older now, so he's thinned out. But like,
Wiry.
he's still a tall, imposing looking.
He's still got plenty of pounds on you, son.
Obviously, I'm just playing politics, so I
That's true.
pretend that I'm protecting the very powerful lord.
Get back. I'll take care
That's
of this.
that's the real honest part of it. Okay, cool. Who do you want to pass your turn off to?
You
You
got
have
there.
Merula and Kronqual.
I think Merula seems as with Kronqual. Are you in our little gaggle?
Yeah, he's like just outside of it.
Oh, okay. Well, I
He's
passed
pretty
it to
close.
Merula last time, I think, so I'll pass it to Kronqual
Oh,
this time.
thank you. I think he was beginning to peel off, and now he's going to peel off. So the whole group is faster than me, right? All right,
Yeah.
cool, great. So while he's in tow with the group, he's going to make his way to the stage.
All right. So you're pushing through the crowd.
Yes.
Go ahead and give me an athletics check just to see how well you can get through these.
And I think when he gets into the crowd, actually, not even like towards the stage, but when he gets into the crowd, he's going to duck his head a little lower and try to be sneaky. And what am I rolling? I'm rolling a Woody.
Athletics.
That's a natural 20.
Whoa.
Is that my first time at the
You can
game?
describe
No.
exactly how you get through the crowd to the stage.
Great. Okay. I come in. on a wire rigging. No, all right. So I think what he's going to do is he starts waddling towards, and he sees the group start running towards Taruk. And then I think in that, his eyes blink vertically again as he then starts to peel away, and he slinks maybe his head starts to slink a little bit down lower, and not necessarily in the shell, but just lower and like a little bit more hunched as he then starts to, I guess his head starts to guide his waddle into the crowd, and as he starts to disappear, and as he gets closer to the crowd, his shell starts to disappear into the masses that is everyone.
And you can feel like people being bowled over by your shell, pushed out of the way. You can hear the screams now. And for a second, I think you can look out through the bottom of your shell, right? You can see the ground, and you see a hand in a white robe and white glove fall and lay out on the dirt, stopping, no longer moving, and with one of those obsidian daggers in it. And you just continue to push your way through the crowd as people are moving in all directions now. Many of them starting to run towards the gate, especially now that the half giant has moved further in. But you're able to make it to the stage.
Okay. Yeah, I think I guess as easily as I was able to get into the crowd, I think he's gonna just hunker and stay inside the crowd for a bit.
Okay.
I think instead of using the rest of my turn to get there, he's going to reach inside to the furs that he has and produce this opal, like a flattened opal with looks like a snake eating itself, etched in black on top of the stone. And I think he's going to look at that, and that's probably where his turn's going to end.
Excellent. Merula, it is your turn.
So as the gaggle, as Rysar so eloquently put it, I'm making our way to conjoin with the fighting force of Taruk et al. Not Van turned away from me for a moment, and I would like to make that a mistake.
Excellent.
And inexplicably, this blackbird seems to continue its harassment. We do not know why. It's a very strange bird.
I love it.
Dirty 20.
Yeah, that'll do it. And like as the blackbird is pulling at his hair and his face is kind of turned aside, so his eyes are off of you, you can see those scales where bones should be beneath what was his flesh. What's the damage?
I hate that. So. 21.
You can describe what happens here, what you do.
Fake Van turns away. Corey flies by and scrapes the top of its head, leaving the neck exposed. And there's really rather a lot of vasculature in there. And also a dagger.
And as his eyes turn towards you and he's like sort of shaking and convulsing for a moment with your dagger in his neck, there's a flash of what looks like betrayal in his eyes. And then they flicker vertically. They no longer look human, they look snake-like, and then they roll into the back of his head.
Let's move. And I think I'd like to use my cunning action to dodge again as we use our movement on up.
Moving towards Taruk and the others?
Yes.
Okay. Lord Lucius takes the longsword, the metal longsword in both hands, and a moment before he turns to start chasing after you, he brings it up like an executioner would over his head and directly down onto the prone assassin that's on the ground, whose head's starting to come up, and just with a clean slice, the head comes off. It rolls several feet away, and Lucius stops for a moment, kneels down, cleans the metal blade that kind of catches some of the torchlight on its edge, cleans it in the grass, and then stands up and starts to chase after Merula.
I come by it honestly.
That's the end of this round. So, Rysar, you are the one now in the back of the group, and the half giant charges towards you. He's been stomping along, slowing down. I mean, his gait is long but labored, and he's bowling straight towards you. And as he gets close, you can catch some of the torchlight that reflects off of his eyes. And you can see with your 18 that you rolled an insight right before we had to go away for a bit, you feel certain that he's being controlled psychically by someone or something. He's not within his right mind, and he's coming directly towards you. And he does take a swing, and this is a wide arcing swing across, like a swat with the club across his body. About a 19.
Shield.
Okay. So describe the shield in this moment as this is just bowling towards you.
I think in this case, maybe he's sort of going really low, but then I mean, as an elf, I use sand and silt and desert as my magical power and sort of where I draw my energy from a bit, but there's a lot of greenery here. So I think I sort of I go under the sort of massive club swing and sort of almost sink into the ground a bit. And there's sort of just a bit of a fluster of dust and sand come up. And someone looking might think, Rysar just got squished. But then I just sort of lightly just jump up and run.
Rysar, as you pop back up, he does bring the club overhead and he takes a second swing. That one is going to be an 18.
Yeah.
Your shield's still in effect until the start of your next turn, though, so it's going to be a miss. So just describe how you avoid the second attack as well.
So the second time, I just sort of... I really want to just turn around and go, loser. But no, I think I sort of scurry up and then he sort of swings it round again. And then again, sort of when I went down, I sort of grabbed some of my earth and sandy element and just sort of almost push the end of the club with my hand and the dirt and the silt and so get a bit propelled away from it, but uninjured.
As the club is pushed off to the side, Rolf, the half giant, lets out a and then before the start of your turn, you see his eyes go slack. A bit of blood spits out of the half giant's mouth into a puddle at your feet. And he drops to his knees and then slumps forward. And you see buried into his back is the stone obsidian battle axe, a heavy looking battle axe. And Gulag pulls the axe out of his back, and Gulag has cuts across his face. He's bleeding. He looks ragged. He drags the axe back across the ground, and he says, Rysar, the Gaj is coming.
With me to Taruk.
You got it, boss. And with that, he passes his turn to you.
How far away is Lixon Lord Akasha, and how far is Taruk?
They are almost to Taruk. They will be there on their next turn. They're like a movement away from you. So you could dash to catch up and basically be in step with them and get to Taruk. Or you can remain a little behind them if you wish and take an action as well.
Are there any of the masked figures in my path or potential path?
Not between you and them, but beyond them, where they're running to, that's where the largest congregation of these masked figures are.
Okay. Well, I think what I'll do is just use my normal movement action and then just chuck a firebolt into the back of one of these masked bastards.
Absolutely. Go ahead and make your attack roll. And are you trying to tell me, because they're all over the place, you can choose, like, who do you want to try to protect here by taking out somebody who's attacking them?
I would like to be, if there is anyone in the path between the Akasha family and Taruk, I would like to clear that path with fire.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a few, there's a small, like, 3 that are between them and Taruk. So you can try to take out one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
12.
12 is enough to hit these guys.
Yes.
Yeah. So you get to do 2d10 fire damage.
Now, can I just check? The 2d10, is that 2 separate firebolts? Or is it one firebolt that does 2d10?
Oh.
Because I feel like, I know with Eldritch Blasts,
That's how
actually
Eldritch Blast is. Let me remind myself. I don't want to get this wrong. I believe, yeah, it's just the damage increases for Firebolt.
Oh, okay, cool. So someone is getting charred. 13. Lucky for some.
Yeah, so you can describe, I imagine, like, there's like a couple of bodies on the ground, a couple of servants, or maybe they're these figures because they're all dressed the same. It's hard to tell. And one of these masked figures jumps up on top of the pile of bodies as Merula is running forward and brandishes a pair of daggers, exposing themselves to your firebolt. How do you take them out?
I think it's just a like shooting and just hits them in the shoulder blade and sort of like, but it's a savage hit and really just there's a smoldering hole as they sort of fall down, singed and smoking.
Absolutely. And Merula, you can see through their shoulder to what's beyond, and they like swagger for a second, just kind of swaying back and forth, and then they fall backwards into the grass. And you're continuing to run, so you're staying behind them, Rysar, but you're moving in the same direction.
Yep.
Who do you want to pass your turn off to?
I will say Akasha, wherever Lady Akasha is.
You're so thoughtful.
So Akasha, between your group that you're now with and Taruk, there's a couple more of these figures that have spun around and they're moving towards you, towards the 5 of you, 6 of you. What do you want to do?
There's so much happening right now. I feel a lot of pressure. Is this what it's like being a praetor? If I were to actually win, would I have to be like this much responsibility? Because it's an awful lot of responsibility. I don't want to run anymore, and I'm gonna cast Tiny Hut and cast it around the people that are with me that I am trying to protect, that I don't want to fight to protect anymore. So I'm just gonna cast Tiny Hut and use it to protect us all. And I'm gonna make the lighting inside very, I don't know, I'm thinking like a subtle kind of orangish tone.
And so the orange is the sort of plane of fire, but it does create this protecting dome. Is the idea that you're creating it around where you currently are and trying to get people to come to you? Or are you creating it somewhere else?
I am creating. I wanted to get to Rysar and Merula, which I got to them on this next turn. Yes, which it should be. So I should have inside Rysar and Merula, Kronqual on the outside, because if I use a large creature, it doesn't work. And look at that. That's called wrapping up a storyline. But they're gonna come inside. I've also got my grandfather, and we are all inside this little hovel at the moment.
So, and Kronqual's the only one, because Kronqual is like way off in the crowd. He's like disappeared into the crowd. He's no longer visible. But the rest of you, so for everybody who missed it in chat as we come back, there's this magical dome of fiery light, this warm orange glow that forms around Merula, Lord Lucius, Rysar, Akasha, Lord Atlas, and Amaran, the floppy-haired follower who's just trying to keep up. It's a protective magical dome that Akasha creates. It feels kind of warm and tingly on the inside, and if you were to pass through it, it would be tingly, but it's not uncomfortable. It's just a kind of gentle tickle. And this forms all around you. What else would you like to do with your turn, Akasha? Are you moving? Are you saying anything? And who would you like to pass your turn off to afterwards?
I would like to gauge the reaction from my grandfather as he's taking all of this in, because this isn't necessarily a side of me that he has seen before. And he knows that I am a cleric and capable, but he does not know that I am capable.
Yeah, so he kind of slides to a stop as he looks around and looks up at the dome, and he looks at you, and for a second, Akasha, you feel like he looks like he's betrayed or hurt, maybe that you used magic, and then he smiles and he says, it's just as I've always said, my dear, you truly are special.
So you're not like mad?
No. We were scared, yes, but not mad. As I imagine, like more of these masked figures are starting to run towards you all.
But we can acknowledge that I did just save you about twice.
But yes, very much so. You'll have to tell me all about how you did it afterwards. I want to hear everything. And I imagine, like, right as that happens, one of the figures like slams into the dome and bounces off and falls back down to the ground right behind him. He kind of like looks around.
Isn't it nice?
Yes.
And this way, we don't have to go out there.
Yeah, all right. I'll stick with you.
It's probably for the best. Is everyone okay? We should have everyone. Rysar.
Rysar probably is like at the edge of the dome. I'll give you the choice, even though you've already had your turn. Do you step all the way into the dome, or do you stay on the outside, Rysar?
I will. Well, if it comes around me, then I will say, how do I leave this thing?
If you leave, you're probably in a worse situation than if you stay.
And then I'll be planning. Yeah, I mean, I'm inside it because that was the intention of the spell. So then on my turn, I will
do whatever you want to do. Cool. Let's go to Merula, right? Merula's right there as well. And
Yes.
they have a turn.
Yes. As I was looking around, as this thing shimmered around me and sort of cut off. What I saw was happening. Silly. I have a whole second set of eyes. So Corey will spiral up a bit and do a cross swoop. Where can they see Kylantes and Van? Second question, can they see Jonah? Because you said that the stabby people were going after, like, mostly patricians. So, like, where's Jonah?
So as the bird swoops around, roll me a perception check, and for every 5 you get, I will give you one person you can check it on. 18. So 3 people, we'll say, in Van and Kylantes are 1 because they're together. You see them almost immediately from overhead. They've come out of the entrance to the maze and they started to follow towards where Merula and the others are. But when the shield goes up, Van stops and he's calling out something towards the shield, and he's waving his hand as though to say, "Follow me."
So really quickly, since I'm just seeing these, we'll get the other 2, and then Merula will obviously run out and do the stupid things. But first, person number 2, Jonah and or Rotan Vor, because last time we saw them together.
Mm-hmm. And you see that they're still together. They're at the edge of the crowd, close, not too far from you, but on the opposite side of the field from Van. Imagine you'd have to go in one direction for him or the other direction is the crowd. And Rotan Var has 2 hand axes. He's covered in blood. You can't tell if it's his or others. And he's holding off these assassins. At his feet, doubled over with several stab wounds, just kind of crawling in that same robe that Rotan Var draped him in, is Jonah.
Noted. And let me know, because I can pick someone specifically, but is there anybody I notably don't see?
You do not see Zethiri any longer, the High Praetor of Public Safety.
Love that. And now Merula's going to go run out of the hut and follow Van and just generally look back to their father, have the sort of like, stop, stay here gesture, run out to Van.
Van's waiting there as you run out of the orange field towards him. And you can hear him now that you move through, and that tickling sensation comes back. It's uncomfortable just slightly for a second. And then you're beyond it, running towards Van near the entrance of the hedge maze. And he says, "Merula, there's a passage in the maze. It leads down to the sewers."
Okay. Let me get my father and the others.
All right, I'll wait for you inside.
Thank you. Don't get stabbed.
Be safe. Thanks. They turn back.
Duck back in, and if I can report that too.
Right before you get back, you see what's going on towards the gate behind you, glancing over your shoulder just before you get back into the energy shield. More screams resound from the gates of the garden in the direction of the city, which the praetors have been running through out towards the city. And emerging from those gates is a monstrously large reptile resembling a beetle. Its body is covered in this scaly rust orange shell. It's much, much larger, nearly the size of a home. And from beneath its shell protrudes 6 many-jointed legs that end in these webbed, clawed feet. Its head is this spongy white globe with 6 black compound eyes. And the gauge, as it enters into the garden, finally, it clacks together its pair of sword-like mandibles. Its 3 purple feathery stalks atop its head twitch and blow in the breeze. And you can hear the screams of people from beyond it. They last for a few seconds and then they die off, and the Gaj continues to skitter forth, moving in your direction.
I head back in. I have that tickle. The Gaj is almost here. There's a path in the maze that will lead into the sewers. Come on, please. Come with me.
And this is free too. You can all react here.
What's this towards?
This is inside the orange shield that Akasha created, where Lord Lucius and Lord Atlas and Rysar and Akasha are. Merula.
You want us to leave the safe spot that no one can get into to go into an uncertain spot. Is that what I'm hearing?
Clearly a skeptic. I then look to my father.
Am I a skeptic, or am I just looking at the situation logically that we are currently in?
There are others outside who I must fight with and protect. Thank you, Akasha.
Since when do you care about anyone besides yourself or that has a vote? If they get slaughtered out there, then they don't have a vote. So I would think that you, of all people, did not care. No, he doesn't.
Sure.
Father, please come with me. Don't leave me alone.
You can see Lucius has a flicker of a previous life in his eyes. So he's looking around, moving faster than he's moved before. He's got his sword in his hands. He looks back towards where Taruk and Intak are being swarmed by more and more of these assassins. And he looks out the other direction, and you can see Gulag stop and spin around with his axe in hand as the Gaj comes right at him. And then he looks back at you and straightens up his back, and he says, I trust you, Merula. You know what's going on. I'm with you.
This way.
He looks back once towards Praetor Rysar, and he says, be the Praetor you claim to be.
You do not need to ask me. And I leave the dome towards Taruk.
Okay. We'll go around. This is like a sort of out of turn order, just narratively what's happening next. Lucius sheathes his sword, and he falls in with you, Merula, and he looks down to you and he says, where to, Merula?
Into the maze. That was where
Very
the
well.
servant said was the path to the sewers. I made my way through earlier. I know the path.
Then I'll follow you.
Did Merula memorize the path? No. Does Merula have eyes in the sky? Yes.
Yes. The good birdie. The very good birdie. So Merula and Lord Lucius start running off towards the entrance to the maze, which Van and Kylantes have already disappeared into. Rysar, as you step out of the shield, and you're looking around, you realize you really have 3 groups in your nearby vicinity who are in trouble. You have Taruk and Intak, who may be able to handle themselves, but they're certainly the most outnumbered. You have Jonah and Rotan Var, the head of House Wavir. And Rotan Var is holding off 2 of these individuals with a pair of hand axes, but the dwarf is very, very tired and hurt looking, and Jonah is on the ground bleeding into the grass. And then you have Gulag, who's turned around, has grabbed his axe, and is single-handedly preparing to face the Gaj as the Gaj comes. And I want to know where Rysar goes and what he does.
I like Gulag. If I'm leaving the hut, who is to which direction? So the three groups and for me.
Jonah and Rotan Var are at the edge of what's left of the crowd. Taruk is where the servants area was, where the food and drink were, where they've been protecting the servants. And the Gaj and Gulag are in the direction of the gate, the shattered gate.
And how many, roughly, how many are fighting Taruk and his bodyguard?
About half a dozen.
Oh, they'll take those fine. Do I think they'll take those fine?
Roll me an insight check. I'll give you an insight check. A single one.
It's a 2, which is a 3 with my bonus.
It's hard to say. They certainly, there's like a pile of bodies around, so they've been fighting for a minute now.
I want to go to Taruk. I want to go to Taruk.
All right. And what do you do?
God. I really like Gulag. Okay, yeah, I go to Taruk, and I want to use my movement to get towards Taruk, but I want to, as I'm going, shout at Gulag, "Don't fight the Gaj, you idiot. Get away from it." And I say to Taruk, if I can, I came to this city with you, and if I'm gonna leave it one way or another, I'd like it to be with you, old friend. And then I want to throw a firebolt at the Gaj at its feathery appendages, because I know that is its weakness from my time in the arena.
Yep.
And I kind of want to hopefully give Gulag an out if he can take advantage of it.
So here's what I want you to do mechanically. First, roll me a persuasion check. And then roll me, when we do like a called attack like this, you basically are rolling with disadvantage. Roll me a firebolt with disadvantage against the Gaj.
Persuasion, I got an 11 on the dice, which with the attributes is... I think I've got quite good persuasion. Oh, +5. That's 16 on the persuasion. So then disadvantage firebolt is... Unless I get a 1. So
Oh, the internet's dropping.
It's like
Okay,
as
okay.
you're running off, it just goes up into the air. It's just kind of wild as you
maybe
send
it'll
it out
distract the
behind you.
Gaj.
So, and you run towards Taruk, not sure if Gulag heard you or not, or is going to follow your orders or not. You slide up to Taruk, where he smiles back at you and says, "Stick with me, friend, and you are not going to die today." He slashes at one of the assassins. What do you say?
There's an exit from the maze into the sewers, and I say it quietly so the bastards around us don't hear.
He nods a couple of times and looks to Ntak, who turns and like clacks the Thrycreen clacks its mandibles, and Taruk says, "If you make a run for it, we'll cover you."
What about you?
Oh, I'll be fine.
What about Gulag?
And he looks over and he says, I think he's coming this way. And you can see now Gulag has slashed once in the gauge and then turns and runs, determined to get away from it and towards you, heeding your...
Then do I believe him? Could I do an insight? Do I feel like there's any... Is he bullshitting me?
If you want to know, you can do an insight check. And then we'll go to Akasha.
17. That's an 18 with the thing.
I mean, yeah, he always sounds like he's bullshitting, but you feel like he's telling you the truth.
Okay. Cool.
Akasha, as Rysar runs off towards the Taruk and Intak and the servants and the assassins, and Merula and their father run off towards the hedge maze, Lord Atlas is standing by you, looking at you and looking out, and he says, should we stay here?
I think that we should stay here, considering in this space we are safe for at least 7 hours and 45 minutes, give or take. But it's better than going out there. However, maybe if we can get through the sewer here.
All right, I just want to be with you. And he sort of
Sounds
rolls up
certain.
his clothes. What? I promise you. I'm scared.
In your wise and extremely aged opinion, what do you think we should do?
I stay right here.
Are you saying that because you think that's what we should do, or are you saying that because you think that's what I
I've
want
never
to
been
hear
in this
from you
situation
because it was
before.
my
I've
idea?
never been here. It's all I did. You.
Yeah, I don't do that all the time. It's like
I don't do
an
it at all.
emergency situation only. Usually I only do that to heal people.
What?
What?
We should talk soon. In the meantime, I think we
talk
should
every
stay
day.
here. And I think there's another body that like lands on the shield.
Do you see how efficient this is?
It's very good. So, Akasha, what are you staying for sure then? Are you staying here in the shield?
I don't know.
Oh no. You can see the same Gaj, you see Jonah wounded on the ground, and Rotan Bar, the dwarf, who's the head of House Wabir, is trying to protect him as they're being surrounded by a handful of assassins. You see Taruk and Rysar and Intak fighting off 5 assassins, and Merula running into the maze.
Why would you all leave at different directions and different terrible, terrible ideas?
Lucius running into the maze, following Van and Kylantes and Merula. You can see and turn the corners further into the maze. You've got your blackbird flying overhead to help guide you. Akasha and her grandfather, Lord Atlas, are running towards you. Akasha, roll me an athletics check to see if you're able to scoop up Jonah on the way.
Well, considering my athletics modifier is a 0, we'll have to see if a 17 will do.
17 is enough for you to grab him, and he's moving slowly, like his feet are kicking his bare feet, but you're bringing him towards the maze as well, as Rysar, Taruk, and Intak are fending off against 5 of these individuals, and Gulag is trying to run away from the Gosh. There's a moment at the entrance of the maze where a strange sort of magical quiet begins to fill the garden of the Megalenion despite all of the chaos. And just a second later, you can hear Caesar's voice fill the space. Enough. This treason will not stand. I am Caesar Androponis. I am the savior of Balic, the champion of the people. And just as he says that, there's a streak of fire from where he is in the sky. It shoots down to the earth. That fire, on the crest of it, is the robed figure of Caesar. His lips are peeled back, his teeth clenched, his eyes burning with a defiler's fire. And Caesar crashes to the ground before the Gaj, gripping in both hands his golden scepter topped with that ruby, that egg-like gem. He incants a word of power, and the grass, the flowers of the garden begin to wilt and die. In the span of a second, a ring of ash forms around the entire of Caesar's garden. The crowd that's gathered, that's trying to flee, doubles over in pain. And all of you too, Merula, even as you're moving into the maze for a moment, there's a nausea that takes you as the hedges of the maze wilt and die, leaving just the bramble and dead wood beneath. Just a second later, as the Gaj rises up, its neck stretching out, its mandibles clacking, the Gaj explodes, just in a shower of viscera and alien appendages. The remaining masked figures catch a flame. They begin to run, screaming for several agonizing seconds before dropping to the ground as Caesar raises his hands and draws the life from the earth of his own garden to extend his power and his spells. And those masked figures drop to the ground as lifeless husks. Kronqual, where are you and what are you doing right now?
Right now, he has... I think when the wilting happens, the hedges start to wilt and turn into brambles. I think that in that moment, like if we were to see a camera fixed on Kronqual, you would see maybe out of focus the hedges wilt in the background, but his eyes would start to glass over, and then his wide black pupils start to thin out into a stripe, and he starts to make his way towards the stage.
A moment later,
his head still kind of guiding his waddle like a slither.
A moment later, Rotan Bar stumbles away from two of the husks, moving towards the maze, towards where Merula and the others are. And then his back straightens up and his eyes go wide, and Merula, you can see Rotan Bar looking across the grass, the scorched earth, what was living just moments ago, towards you. He mouths something, but no sound comes out, and you can see a blade sticking through his sternum. High Praetor Zathiri pushes him off of her blade, and Zathiri steps forward, kneeling before Caesar. At the same time, rising from the mass of servants around Taruk and Rysar, another figure, robed, steps forward. It's the red-haired woman from the harbor, the one who fled from Kronqual and Akasha. And she opens her fist, and within she reveals a perfectly shaped spherical golden orb with an obsidian band etched in it that resembles a snake eating its own tail. Rysar, what do you do in this moment?
So Zathiri has killed Rotan Var and
Yes.
then bowed in front of Caesar.
Yes.
I, I was gonna go and try and help Rodan Far, but okay. So Untuck and Taruk have told me they're fine, and I should do a runner. Gulag is coming to me or going to them?
Gulag was running towards you, but when Caesar struck the ground, Gulag was forced forward and he bowed over. He's retching right now, just like you and everyone else. Caesar's defiling magic, and you know this because of who you are and how this works. He's drawn life force not just from the earth, the plants. He's drawn it from you too.
Yeah.
And that is why, like, you are feeling uncontrollably nauseous right now.
Okay, I think I'll be staggering and sort of retching then, and trying to sort of move away from Caesar a bit in case he casts another spell, because I know they can do a lot more than that, than make us retch. Rotan Var's dead, fine. Is the theory injured? I thought she went down under a gate when the...
Like maybe a bruise on the head, right? Shit. Just from being knocked down by the gate, but not severely injured.
Can't finish her off then.
I like the thinking.
Yeah. I would like to send a message. How far is the theory from me?
60 feet.
And how close to Caesar is she?
30 feet.
Okay. I think I'm going to start... I want to, what's the closest enemy to me? Are there lots of the Athas? They're all dead.
Caesar seemingly just killed everyone.
Oh, okay, great. I would like to go and kneel next to Zathiri.
She nods at you as you step over and kneel next to her.
Do you need me to do anything, High Praetor?
No, thank you.
I'm just bowing to Caesar like the High Praetor is.
And Caesar's slowly turning towards the two of you. Merula, you're starting to recover from this moment of nausea. What do you do?
I want to keep making my way away from here. I want to try to keep leading my father through the brambles and follow Van and Kanatis.
And I think there's a moment maybe where he recovers heartbeat before Merula, and he stretches down a hand to them and says, I have you.
Yes, Father. Always.
Just at the corner of his mouth, there's a small smile as he lifts up and the two of you move into the now dead hedge maze, leaving whatever's happening behind. Akasha, you and your grandfather have this moment where Caesar and the others are behind you. Merula continues into the corpse of the hedge maze. What do you do?
Cry. Like a deep, deep, deep stress cry. And I'm gonna drop down at my grandfather's feet and just cry.
He drops down beside you. His ash is starting to rise up off the ground and drift on the wind from defiling magic, everything it's destroyed. He wraps his arms around your shoulder. You can feel him shaking too, whether he's just struggling to catch his breath or he's crying as well, but he's holding you there in that moment. The white-robed figure with the servants holds out the green orb, the golden orb, and it begins to glow with this eerie green light. Akasha, as you're crying, you can see just for a moment beyond your grandfather's shoulder that high praetor Zethiri, as she's bowing, raises up an identical golden orb with a snake etching around its center. And Rysar and Akasha, you both see in this moment, there's a small smile on Zethiri's face, and a snake-like tongue flickers out of her mouth and then snaps back into it.
Ew.
Can I do something?
You can try.
He doesn't want to.
Do it.
I just stand up, sort of shocked, stepping away, and fucking stab her. It's not the best thing to do. A firebolt would be better, but I want to try and stab Zethiri in the throat.
You've got an advantage.
Cool. I need it. Oh, it's a 19 without the +2, so that's 21.
That'll be a hit. You
Why?
can roll damage. Are you like cutting from behind? Are you cutting? Is that the goal here?
I think I'm trying to sort of stand up in shock and then just whip my blade across her throat and try and cut her throat as I stand up.
You do cut into her throat. You can see some blood spilling out. It's a different color than yours, than most people's. And there's this like rattling, hissing sound. It's almost like it's coming out of the wound. And Caesar has turned completely around at this point. As he turns around, his scepter glowing, his face glowing with a sort of madness of his own power. He momentarily looks confused as he looks down to Zethiri, who's still just swaying and holding this orb as she's bleeding, and you can hear his voice on the wind one more time. What is the meaning of this? Kronqual.
I believe Kronqual starts to waddle up towards the, like maybe you hear in this dull silence, in this tense moment, you hear like a knocking as he makes his way up the stairs, up the stage. And you see he's walking differently. His head is lower, not into the shell, but lower down, and he's just, his head is guiding, and his neck is guiding his waltz as he makes his way over. And I think he makes his way over towards Caesar, but on the other side of Zethiri, and then he kneels, and with his unblinking, vertically slit irises, a forked tongue comes out, tastes the air, and snaps back in his mouth as he also holds up a matching stone.
At the moment that Kronqual holds out the third of these orbs, it activates like the others, glowing green, and a green lightning shoots out between the orbs. They form a perfect triangle around Caesar. The energy creates no sound, and the space within its confines is robbed of sound as well. You can see Caesar shouting. You can see his mouth moving, but there is no sound that escapes that triangle of energy. And before your eyes, Rysar, as you've kind of stumbled back a few steps and you're face to face with Caesar, he appears to disintegrate, to disappear, as though his body were being burned out of this world by that strange, eerie green light. And so do too, in that moment, all three of the traitors, Kronqual, Zethiri, and the robed woman wearing the cerebrine hood, they all vanish in a blinding burst of green psionic energy. When they are gone, Akasha, you with your grandfather, and Rysar, you looking at where Caesar used to be, someone from the surviving crowd falls to their knees and begins to weep. Caesar's garden is a ruin of scorched earth, dead flowers washed in blood, and the corpses of those killed in the uprising. Ash drifts on the wind. It stings the eyes, smelling vaguely like sulfur and brimstone. And a cry goes out from somewhere. Caesar is dead. Caesar is dead. In that moment, Rysar and Akasha, I think you see each other from across the scorched ground, and you both know that Balic will never be the same. But that's where our story ends. For tonight and for the first season of our campaign. Thank you, friends.
Mama.
Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. I know we had some internet problems. We are going to splice up the video and make it look really nice, and then we'll re-air it. We'll put it on YouTube. Plenty of other opportunities to watch and share with folks. We went a little late tonight because of that, so I'm going to fly through these intros a little bit. I want to give a shout out to our moderators. All season long, our moderators in chat have been amazing, engaging the community, keeping us safe, making it a really fun place to hang out, watch some D&D and play some D&D for us too. Thank you very much to our sponsors, Dark Dice, Level Up Dice, and Wormwood Gaming. They keep us going. They're the reason why we're able to do some of the fancy stuff that we're able to do, which I love. And a big thank you also to Mythmatic, to Cord. Thank you for producing the show, all of the great special effects and the music, fixing it when things go wrong. For me, it just makes it so immersive and so much fun. And I just think the world of what you're able to do. So
Nice.
thank you very much.
Thank you. I love it, but when it works. So yeah, we'll make sure to get this we'll get this up and ready on YouTube and in podcast form as well. So be ready for that. Thank you. Yeah, it's really a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So this is the end of our season, friends, and we've got some exciting things coming up in our new season, including more Veiled Alliance, maybe some other new shows that we'll be announcing here soon as well. In the meantime, we're still going to be streaming on Tuesday nights next week. Fingers crossed everything works out, but we should have more bonus episodes like the one where we did with Rysar. We got to flash back and see Rysar, 13 years ago. We'll get to bring on some guests, so we'll have some new people to introduce to Dark Sun that way. We'll learn more about all the characters. That's going to be a lot of fun. We've also got some chat shows, some more Unveiled Alliance coming up that I'm really looking forward to. And then we'll be announcing our next season and all the things that we're going to be doing for that here pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, check out our Discord. That's where our community is kind of gathering. We have a brand new community manager who is amazing. They're doing great work for us. I'm so glad they're helping us out. Her name is Renee Rhodes. So if you know Renee, say hello. She's in our Discord all the time. It's becoming a place where we can start to run events and games and competitions and lots of things like that. So come in there, hang out, talk D&D with us. But beyond that, I wanted to go around just real quick, check in with everybody in the cast, how you're doing. If there's something in your mind as we leave season one, whether it's like your favorite part of the season that you're looking back at, or what you're looking forward to maybe most in the next season, and then let us know if you have anything cool upcoming that people should check out, because you're all cool people who do cool things.
Don't go anywhere because we have something special soon. So if you're thinking about going, I'm going to go somewhere else, this is the outros. No, it's not. There's something else coming. I promise.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We at the end of the outros, we have one more little thing we're going to share with you, a sort of sneak peek, or well, you'll see. But in the meantime, let's go around and let's check in with everybody. And let's start with Myth. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm a little stressed because of internet issues, but besides that, I really had a lot of fun and love playing with all of you. Thank you for telling the story with me. Thank you, LFM, for having me on this. It's really just a lot of fun, and I couldn't have asked for a better crew, and couldn't have asked for a better story. This is really wonderful, and my pleasure to do the production stuff. Really, it's a lot of fun, and it's all stuff I love to do. role play and press buttons and produce a live crazy show and like I feel like the Wizard of Oz when I'm doing this stuff and just like don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain because it's pretty much what I'm doing and I love that and I do that on my own channel as well. Check me out on twitch.tv/mythomatic where I play 2 characters at once in Star Citizen. I play a space trucker who is also stowing an illegal AI on his cargo vessel. So if you want to check that out, it's a lot of fun. And that happens on Thursdays over on twitch.tv/mythomatic. But besides that, I do a lot of RP here on Twitch, over on Table Story, and as well as the Astropub, where I'm doing the Expanse RPG on Saturdays. So either way, you will see me around. But thank you for having me, and thank you everybody, including you, audience, and everybody in the cast. Thank you. This has really been wonderful, and I can't wait to tell more stories with you all.
Hello, friend, and thank you for playing evil Kronqual for a couple of sessions.
Yeah.
The sort of fallout from what happened, a few sessions ago when Kronqual faced his doppelganger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but I thought you played it brilliantly, right? Like I think maybe some people knew that it was coming or that it was likely that something was going to go down. But I love like all the little touches you did, like when the tongue would flicker out, or when like the eyes would go vertical, or he'd just make a weird sound.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go down to Toby. Toby, how are you doing, buddy?
God damn. I mean, I even remember going, hang on, I saw that through my familiar. I need to question that. But then something happened. So Toby completely forgot, whereas Rysar would be like, I need a word with you, Kronqual. But yeah, cool. Diamond especially. Well, there were a lot of things I loved in this session. One was, I love Akasha's granddad. He's hilarious. Just the little sort of to and fro in the heart, like blah, 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 like every family party you go to. And then just that moment at the end, Caesar is dead. Like it's such a beautiful line. But yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you, Don, for telling the story, allowing us to tell the story. Thank you, Cord, for making us sound and look good and stuff. Thank you, fellow cast, for being so fabulous. Yes, it is my birthday today. Yes, I'm 21.
That's
yes,
right. Happy
I know I look
birthday.
younger than that. I'm on social media, Toby Osmond, Mr. T. Osmond on Instagram, which I remember because Christina.
Great birthday
reminded
present,
me.
everybody. Go follow Toby.
Oh,
Osmond.
yeah. Yeah, I want like 1 million
Right?
followers for my birthday.
Just one from everybody.
Yeah,
That's
or
all.
a can of beer.
Right. What I mean, yeah, or a can of beer. That's true too.
Oh, and last Wednesday, I'll shout out for Adventurers Wanted because they very kindly helped organise, which Don also volunteered for, but it was a long old session and he was busy DMing, I think. But I had a birthday dungeon, and I DM'd for the first time in my life. My oldest mate, Dan Rose, who I started playing D&D with at 7, claims that I DM'd like before I was 10 or something, but I don't remember that. So so that was great fun. So maybe I'll be DMing some stuff soon. But yeah, catch me on social, look for Adventurers Wanted. And thanks, LFM. And thank you to all our lovely sponsors. Thank you all. Thanks for watching.
Happy birthday, Toby.
Yeah, you killed Caesar for me. Woohoo.
Yeah, that was your gift. That was that was planned the entire time. But yeah, I thank you very much. Happy birthday. I'm glad you got to DM. You should do it more. I think you'd make a great DM. I really, really believe that.
Thank you.
So
I didn't know the rules a lot, but I just made them up and it was fine.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
The murderous instinct that really matters, and that
That's
we know
right.
you have.
Your players
Yeah.
know
Everything
the
else
rules.
can be learned.
Yeah,
We
I
can't
only-
teach murder.
I only killed 3 of the players, I think. Anyway, over to
You'll be
you,
great.
whoever.
So I want to say I loved a lot about this episode, but all the way back at the beginning, I really did like Rysar and Akasha's speeches. They were so different, but they were both so good. I really, really enjoyed them, and both of you getting to do that. So that was one of my highlights for sure of many things.
If
This was
I
better.
may, I actually because Rysar has a natural psychic talent thing, the raw talents, and it's that he can listen in from afar. So he actually wove in a couple of quotes from people to people, like the thing with Akasha saying, I've never known a member of your family so persistent. So that was verbatim what your grandfather said to you before the speech, but of course it was like a week ago.
I thought they're both totally your characters too, which I really loved. And both of them, you know, mechanically, I think Toby rolled a natural 20, but Akasha has such a great bonus to their performance that they ended up scoring higher anyways. And we will find out what the new political landscape of Balic's going to be for next season, because it's everything that's happened so far matters, but it's going to be different than maybe what we anticipated. That's exciting.
So Akasha is Caesar is what you're telling me.
That's what I heard.
Speaking of, let's go to Christina. How are you doing, Christina?
I'm cool. I just want to say it's been a really fun season. I enjoyed you guys. You can find me on Twitter because that's my house at Christina Ariel, KRYSTINA ARIELLE. I just want to give a shout out to my arch nemesis, also known as Toby Osmond. Yeah, so this has been a really great season. I've enjoyed all of you, and I look forward to more stories, more adventures, and Akasha's been really fun to play, and I'm looking forward to exploring more of her and Laguerre and all of her different sides. And I'm gonna keep saying "and" because I don't know. This has been really fun. I think I've got another episode of Vampire the Masquerade Denver by Night, which is on Wednesdays from 5 to 7. So you should watch me do that because I play a funky disco / cult leader named Delilah, and she's delightful. Yeah, because her name is Delilah, and she's also delightful.
I see what you did.
Yeah, I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for everyone who has tuned in and who has supported us. This show means a lot to me. People mean a lot to me, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to hang out with my friends. And it has been, especially during everything that's going on, this has been a really great outlet for me. I want to say while we're here, we are all going through a difficult time in the world right now, and it is full and having that constant, it's extremely comforting to just have that space to be and exist, and to have people that have your back in a time where everything seems like no one does. So protect each other, love each other, be kind to each other, and appreciate each other because we all we got. And I just hope that even in any downtime we may take, you guys continue to care about each other and take care of each other.
Thank you. Thank you for all of the crazy energy you bring to Akasha and the laughs that you bring to the show. It means a lot to me. I feel the same way, that I feel very lucky with everything going on, that I get to play D&D with you amazing people. It means a lot to me too. And I'm excited. I'm excited for next season and everything we've got going on. And I'm excited to see what happens with your characters, and Akasha and her grandfather and Rysar, all of it. But let's keep going. Let's say hello to Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi. Well, that happened. Oh goodness. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the heck is going on in this town now that it got kinda wrecked. It was such a nice town. Kinda. Well, it was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. And I felt like I had my head on a swivel constantly, like, are you still alive? Good. Are you still alive? Are you still alive? You are almost not alive. Okay, stab. All right, you're gonna be alive for like 2 more minutes. All right, cool. You don't get to be alive. It's just a lot of being everywhere at once. So it was a really fun, frantic combat, and I enjoyed that. And rogues are fun. I can speak to that.
Cool. Do you have anything you want to shout out? Anything you're really excited about?
Yes. So as of this morning, I have my own Twitch stream. I will now be streaming twice a week. Tuesdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 PDT, and Saturdays from 9 to 11:30 PDT. And you can find that information along with my whole Twitch schedule for my own streams, as well as the stream I do here and other channels across the internet at twitch.tv/Delevely, DELEVELY. And for everything else I got going on the internet, or anything I miss, you can catch me on my Twitter at Tchaikovsky, CHAIKOVSKY. And if you got those two, you pretty much got what I got. Oh gosh, it's the end of season 1, and I'm really excited for the bonus episodes, but also I'm really excited to go back and start season 2 like as soon as possible. It's gonna be like, we're gonna cut and then we're gonna start again, right? Good, glad to hear. Excellent, great.
What was your first stream? What was the very first thing you streamed on your channel?
Oh, we did just chatting and a little science segment, which I had done in the past as part of an after show for a Star Trek RPG, and now I'm very excited to go back to doing a little bit more science communication. This morning, we talked about the genetics of morning people.
Cool.
I can't relate. I can't.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Very cool. Well, all of these people are amazing, so please go check them out on social media, look up their other shows, what else they're up to. I feel very lucky to get to play with them all the time. And as far as I go, same thing. You can find me on social media at Donathan Fry. I have other shows that I'm doing and running. I'm adventures and books that I'm writing. You can find it all there. I'm looking forward to season 2, but we do still have some bonus episodes in the meantime, so look forward to that. And I just want to echo everything else that other people are saying. Please take good care of yourselves. Find joy in what you have, in the games that you have, in the communities that you're a part of. And I'm very appreciative for everybody who watches us on YouTube or watches us live, who spends a little bit of your time with us in our stories, as we're goofing around and people are dropping left and right and murders happening and we're having a good time. And I'm very glad that you're along for the ride. So thank you very much. Before we get out of here, there is one more thing that you need to see. So please stick around for just another minute or two, and we'll see you again for season 2.